Hey everyone, and welcome to Models Workshop episode 128. Poll the per, not poll the per the poll last week. The people that messaged us said to go ahead and continue with the numbering scheme that we have. So that would take us up to episode 128. And we have a doozy of an episode for all of our listeners. It is going to be a bit of a quick one. I have to hit the road faster than I was meaning to. So we got to get this wrapped up so I can get it edited and put online. But our main topics is Dungeons and Dragons has a paint line that was created by Vallejo. So we're going to talk about that one. We're going to cover it very briefly because this topic at this point has been done to death. The OGL and what the ending of that is. Some other news that came out from Hasbro, as well as some stuff from Catalyst, MTG, and Grey Gnome Games, and Beetle and Grit. So, ladies, what have you been up to?
Let's see. Now, I drove across a state and part of another state to go to a grocery store, and I've been spending money on Kickstarters.
So
that's what I've been doing.
So some goods, which is very ironic because the grocery store that I went to, or that we went to because I went with her, was actually told to me by Jessica, who's also here right now, who lives in Michigan. So she's the farthest away from this grocery store, and she's like, you need to go.
Yes.
Actually, part of the reason it's 7 o'clock local right now for myself and Marine. Actually, I believe Jessica as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just returned from Jungle Gym again for the third time in 2 weeks. Well, okay. So the story was my wife had never been. So we had never been. So we went, and she enjoyed it. Okay. It wasn't, she's really not into the scene type deal. She thought there was some really cool stuff, especially in the international section, but overall it was on a Saturday, so it was stupid busy, just like it was today. And also we bought a dog that day, so she was and the dog was at the pet store, so she was kind of antsy about going back and getting her. We ended up picking up a corgi. I believe we talked about it last podcast, so not to beat that one to death. And so we went and we had fun, and it was great. And the corgis, the corgi is a corgi. If you've ever owned one, you know what I mean. They are a very fun dog, but oh boy, they can be interesting, that's for sure. Then a couple days ago, Wednesday, Marie met me in Dayton, and we drove down to there, and we also visited Jungle Gyms. Once again, we went through the different sections. Marie was very uninterested except for the international section. Everyone loves the international section at Jungle Gyms because it's massive.
I told you I would have done more if I could have.
Yeah, but you honestly seemed very uninterested. Like, here I am. The butcher is amazing. You're like, I was like, look at this bakery. Yep, it's bread. Ooh, chili pepper and sriracha. Okay.
What you were pointing out to me were perishables for the most part, and I was looking more for groceries that would last more time. Even though I did talk to you about splitting a hunk of Parmigiano Reggiano.
Snap. I did actually forget to pick that up. It was an absolute nut house today. Like, it was crazy. So the kids were disappointed that they didn't get to go there. So they're like, Dad, let's go. So I'm like, okay. So I'm at 333 for bringing home dogs, even though they had a King Charles Cocker there that, such a sad looking little puppy. Aww. I really wanted to bring him home to play with my other Cocker and the Corgi, but I didn't. I held strong. I only went in there and got some teething rings because the Corgi is 3 months old and has needles for teeth. So other than that, we went in there, we picked up some. Okay, so you can do your regular shopping in there, but for the most part, anytime I go there, I always pick up the hard to find or unique items.
Yes.
I found out they had almond roca, which I didn't think they had it because it wasn't in the candy section. It was in the specialty candy section because, of course, they had to have a regular candy section and a specialty candy section.
But we can't forget the candy sections that are in each of the individual ethnicity aisles.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I know.
So we were looking at one point, Marie was looking for Cadbury, and we had to go to the UK section to get it because she wanted the UK Cadbury. I found the almond roca in the not normal candy section, but still North American. Like they had the Terry's oranges, the one you smash against your hand and they pop open, the orange chocolates. They had all that stuff, the stuff that you normally, it's hard to find. Almond roca is a specialty out of Tacoma, Washington, where I'm from. And I absolutely, before my mom passed, that was actually one thing that she would always get me for my birthday every year was a can of almond roca. So usually, and it's incredible because she lived in Washington still, but it's incredibly hard to find outside of Washington. So anytime I can find it, I usually pick up a can. Typically, the oddest thing is the two places I can always find it is the Christmas tree store. If you know, you know. And apparently Jungle Gyms. So they actually had all the different types of roca. They had the cashew roca, almond roca, the dark chocolate roca, all of it. But I like the almond roca, so I stuck with it.
So just because we're talking about it, just so listeners will understand, this store is like one of the, if not the biggest grocery store I've ever been in. But it's not because it's just a big grocery store. Like the international food section is all broken down to look like tiny little shops.
Okay, that's actually okay. So that's been updated recently. That's not
really
okay. So they actually have done a lot of construction. Like it'd been about a year and a half since I'd been at Jungle Gyms before 2 weeks ago. And before, now, if you've ever been to Jungle Gyms, they used to have a plant section. You used to walk in, and it was like this covered hallway, but it was still outside. On the right would be a plant area, and then on the left would be the entrance where you walk in, and your carts would be there. Well, now there is no more plant section, and they've covered all of it, and they've expanded it out, and that entire thing is now the entrance, and that's where a lot of the toys and collectibles are, as well as all of the dishes, the plates, the really nice knives that they sell. They're all in that area now, and then you actually walk into the regular store. Now, in the regular store, the first portion is about the same. They're down to a single aisle of cheese, which, don't get me wrong, we're talking like a Walmart aisle. So these things are
still
small.
Really big.
It's still big.
They had so much,
but they used to be 3 Walmart aisles worth of cheese. So they have shrunk that back. They've expanded their wines and beer section quite a bit. And then, but once you get past that area where the delicatessen and the charcuterie places, yes, I'm mispronouncing on purpose, so don't come at me, bro. I am calling it charcuterie for a reason. But once you get past that section, basically past the bathrooms, it goes back to what it's been for years. You walk in, there's the candy / butcher it's the candy, the bakery, then into the butchery, and then wrap around, you hit the fish section, and then the vegetables and stuff, and then you go into the international. Now,
do they not have the little separate stores no more?
When we came in on Wednesday, we actually came in from the back road, which I've never done before, and they're doing construction back there. And from what we could hear is they are actually doing like the faces are still there. The faces to the International Village, which is what you're talking about, is still there.
Yeah.
But it's been moved out. The dog section, dog food and animal section has been moved out to that new entrance area too. And where the animal section used to be is temporarily where the International Village stuff is. So the French, the Scandinavian, Irish, and all that is over in that area. And by what we mean by International Village is they have these facsimiles of buildings that look like a French chateau or a Swiss house. I'm not sure what they call it, probably a chateau as well. But And you could walk in and it was this big room and it was nothing but stuff from Switzerland. So it was a little bit different than just the aisles of different foods. Like you could walk down this aisle and this entire section is Korean food. And it's stuff that's imported from Korea. Like the labels are in Korean and there's like a translation label on the back, maybe, if you're lucky.
Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah. Some of them
Google Translate will be your friend through that place. Some
of it you better know what you're getting, or you really seriously you're going to be in for a surprise, especially with a lot of the Asian stuff. Thank you, Windows Security. Please quit popping up. I don't care.
Yeah, there's an app, and I don't remember what it's called, where you can take the picture of a label that's in another language, and it'll translate it into the language of your choice. And that is so useful in that store.
Right. So to put it into perspective, the entire store is a little bit bigger than probably the biggest super Walmart that I've been into. It's big. And this is just a pure grocery store. It is massive. It's a very, very large store. The international section, which is a lot of people's, a lot of people will go to the international section. And the international section, like whenever you go there, it is very, you can tell there's a lot of first generation people that are shopping there in the different country sections. And they're coming to get their homeland, food that they had when they lived overseas or wherever they came from. Mm-hmm. So it's a very good selection, and it's a wide selection too. They have everything from Jamaican, South African, Korean, Filipino, Thai, and that's just scraping the top. That's not even including the European countries and all. It's like all the European
such a
countries.
fun place to go.
The only thing I think that are missing is honestly Russian. Some of the Eastern Bloc stuff, and but they have a very large. They've expanded their the Chinese area. It's like 3 aisles now. They have an aisle of nothing but ramen.
Oh man!
It is, and it's called the ramen shop. Wow. And there's a big, how they have the big signs up with the cartoons and everything. It says the ramen shop. Aww. And it's an aisle away of nothing but different types of ramen. And it's like they'll have one section that is Thai ramen, or not Thai, or possibly Thai. They have a Korean section, they have a Japanese section, I believe they have a Thai section, and then
that's completely new.
Yeah, and it's just an entire aisle away of nothing but all the different types of ramen from all over the world. Mm-hmm. Some of them are very recognizable. You've got your Shin Black, you've got your Neogiri and that type of stuff. So it's a really interesting store. But what we discovered whenever we were there and in the International Village, you could hear hammering behind it. So that area where they're doing construction, I think, is actually where the International Village is, and they're going to end up opening up that area again, hopefully, and maybe even bigger, like expand it and stuff. So that would be great.
It seems like it is temporary because the signs for those various ethnicities are just paper taped over where they moved the foods to. Mm. So it looks like they've just kind of, as you said, I think you said the pet section was there?
Yeah, that used to be where the pet section was.
Okay, so instead, it doesn't look like it's a permanent move. It's got, like I say, the paper over the...
Maybe they're doing something else.
Yeah, and over the aisle markers.
And all the facades
are... next month. I'm going to go next month.
Okay, hey, we might have to meet you, and we'll meet...
I know, right?
We just had to party on down over there.
Yeah, it just seems like, to me, it looked like it was a temporary move until they can get those really interesting looking little nooks back going together, and then put them back the way that they were, or even bigger. So it's very intriguing to see what they're going to do with that in the future.
And I just think, like, as a creative person, like, it encompasses my life, and I love creative eating and making unique things and exploring cultures. And that place is just, I don't know, you feel like you're on vacation, like you're traveling around the world, but you're only in one store.
Well, they have a tour bus parking area, and they legitly do. They have a tour bus parking area.
Do they? Oh.
Yeah. And it's used. Like if you go at certain days during the summer, they'll have tour buses there, and people will go in and you'll have a tour. I do recommend that if you are around the Cincinnati area or you're going to make a trip, don't go on Saturday or Sunday. It is absolutely a nightmare. And if you have any type of anxiety, double up on your medicine. It's crazy. But
well, when we went, we went in the back way, you said, and you got to see something you hadn't seen before.
oh my goodness, there's a huge dragon back there.
What?
Yeah, there's a dragon on the back
No.
entrance, and I think it's actually kind of new because it looked really glossy and new, but I had never,
Really?
I'd never been there. And also in the back, there's where the loading docks are. They have like a big banner that says "Truckers Move the World." So as a trucker myself, I kind of felt I was like, oh, that is actually really kind of neat. But
And wasn't there about like a train or a monorail?
Yeah,
yes,
that's from Disney, old school Disney.
it has a monorail. It looks like, okay, so the first time I went there, it was in a lot more disrepair. It almost looks like they're actually cleaning it up a little bit to maybe, hopefully, possibly get it running. I mean,
That would be awesome.
I'm not 100% sure, but like you go in there, and if you remember, for anyone that's older, Chuck E. Cheese, when they used to be a really big thing with all the animatronics, they have animatronics inside of this grocery store. You'll have like, there's a swinging Campbell's soup can that's sitting there talking to you. And I mean, it's big. It's like bigger
It's
than
so
me.
cool.
And then they have the cereal band, which
The
is
dancing corn.
they have the dancing corn. They have the cereal gang, which is Honey Nut Cheerios, the frog, and another person, and they're all up there jamming and singing. They have a cooking school that's in there. So if you're a foodie, it's most definitely an awesome place. If you're a creative, I most definitely would suggest going. It's very, like, it's the entire thing. You get immersed in it. It's not just, and it's almost inspiring even if you're not a foodie. Just how creative this entire place is, and all the different cultures.
Foods you didn't know existed.
Yes.
Speaking of which, I picked up 2 jars of that crisp, the red pepper crisp, because I could never find the pepper. That pepper you had me, I couldn't.
Oh, okay. I'll have to order that one then.
Yeah, I looked. I even went back, even after we talked, messaged back and forth with each other. I went to a couple different sections that looked even, looked more. And I asked 2 employees. Neither one of them were like, I don't know, but I did pick up the. I did get the noodles.
What I asked Larry to get was a particular type of red pepper, and it's the one that's used to make the nice bright red chili oil.
Oh, fancy.
Unfortunately, all the packages that they show are in Chinese.
Yeah, and it's also, oddly enough, a brand that they do not carry there, and I could not find. I couldn't find an equivalent.
And I appreciate that, so I will definitely be getting that stuff online, because I can get that one. But what he was saying he did get me 2 jars of is something called Chili Crisp, that has chili peppers, a bunch of other stuff, including mushroom powder, and then fried slices of garlic and shallot as well.
Wow.
And
what do you use it for?
You use like a spoonful of it when you're making different sauces and that.
You can use it. Funny enough, there's a Gorgu. He makes shorts on Facebook, and I catch him every now and then. And he does a lot of stuff with like Wagyu beef, and he does a lot of exotic foods. And he actually made a recipe. It was a recipe where he was going up against A5 Wagyu versus bluefin tuna, high-end bluefin tuna.
Whoa. And
they were making recipes. And one of the recipes was actually nigiri that had... No, it wasn't the nigiri. It was the... what is it called? The raw... It's the one that's raw.
Sashimi?
No, it's a European dish. Tartare. It was steak,
tuna tartare. Okay.
It was tuna tartare and steak tartare, and they used a red pepper crisp in that particular recipe. So that was I was like, hey, I know what that is now. I only learned like 2 days ago.
So one bottle might end up making it back to my place.
No. I bought both of them for you. But yeah, so it was all good. All right, so now that we've the personal stuff. It's been like 5 months since she's been on the show, so I'm gonna go take a break real quick while she's.
No, I don't have that much. But I found this really cool gaming store. It's not big. It's very small, but in it, and it's and I don't even remember the name of it, but in it they had, believe it or not, and I don't know, maybe it's just unique around here, but they had all the Chimera paints, all of them, and they had several boxes of them, and I was so surprised because I've never seen them outside of the world of the internet. So I bought them all because, you know, I don't know, I'm a sucker for things like that. I something different. But while I was looking at them, I happened to notice that they actually were selling next to them the matte or the satin mediums in individual bottles, and I thought that was pretty cool. And anybody else that does Chimera paints, I am told they buy multiple bottles of the satin medium to go with it because it's a good additive. But so I did that, and I've been working with my D&D group. We're doing a once a month homebrew, kind of like a one shot where once a month we do a one shot, and this one's going to be a big dungeon that's like a Egyptian themed dungeon going through like a pyramid type thing, very basic. But so I made the mistake of saying that in my last adventure that everything was too easy, and so I made everything super hard. So that's what they get. But and I also made puzzles through the whole thing, and it's got like riddles, and it's timed, so everyone shows up at my house at 10 in the morning, and then we play until 2. So they really have to do time management to make sure that they don't stay in one room too long trying to figure something out and make their way through. And it's halfway through me doing all of this, my freaking, I can swear on this, my fucking 3D printer broke halfway through doing all of this, so I only have half the minis, so I'll have to use like pennies or picture this paint bottle as being a
you can use your Chimera paints to represent something else other than what they are.
I can, like, imagine this green paint is actually a ghost. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on. It's very exciting stuff.
So I went and looked at, for those who don't know, Chimera is Scale 75's paint line, and they actually only have 13 colors. They're advertised as highly pigmented, which is almost a buzz term. So I'd actually have to get my hands on
Chimera? No, Chimera is the one that's single pigment paints, where each paint is a single pigment.
Right. And
they come from...
There's only 13 of them.
No, there's 3 sets that are out. So there's the primary colors set. Okay, so there's the primaries, and then they have a secondary set that has like earth and human skin type colors, but they're not the skin color. It's the single pigments that you mix together to make different skin tones. I don't know. All of them I think are really neat, and it's interesting because it comes with a booklet. And I don't know, they never really talk about that, but I think the booklet is great because it says you take this red. So like, let's say you take this one, it's called, of course I picked the one with the weirdest name, Toluidine, Toluidine.
Toluidine red.
Toluidine red, and then they'll have you mix that with this and this, and then you get this.
They have
actually, it's like in there.
Well, they have a okay, so you're talking about the expansion set 1, and then there's a non-metallic set.
They had all of them.
Maybe I should talk to Brian, see if he wants to come in the show, because I know they have another Kickstarter coming out for some paint.
Oh, do they?
Here recent, that's coming out it's either out or it's coming out soon. So.
Oh, they're great. They're so matte, and they're just, I don't know, they're really fun to work with. I'm really enjoying it, and it's the booklet is almost what makes it for me. I would have just, I don't know, that it's teaching me things that I never knew.
Now
like how they make better shadows and I don't know. I think it's good.
I almost balked at first because they're like $6.50 a bottle. I was like, wow, that's kind of expensive. And then I looked, but they're 30 ml bottles, so they're twice the size.
It's way more paint.
They're 33% more than, or 50% more than most paint lines, and double what you get for the GW. So it's a fair amount. I don't like their lids. I'll tell you that right now. Don't like their lids. I don't like those lids on anything, including airbrush paints, and every airbrush paints has that flip top. Okay, going in from paints, the main topic that was brought up is Dungeons & Dragons has a brand of paints that's out right now that was formulated or created by Vallejo, and they are 8 milliliters, and are they good, or is it just another boutique item that plays into an entity's ego? And you typed that one out, Marie. So I like that. So now you're the other, if it's Dice Goblins, what's paint Kobold? Paint. Come on.
Junkies.
No.
What are you asking? What is it called?
No.
It's called
Prismatic
I'm a paint junkie.
D&D Prismatic paint.
Yes, it's the Prismatic. No, we have Dice Goblins, which are people who collect a whole bunch of, but we can't do paint goblins. That's already been taken. So is it like paint kobolds? I don't like junkie. That's
paint
just
borders.
Paint magpies. Let's call them paint magpies.
Paint magpies or paint beholders. Paint magpies. Paint magpies. So are they just something else that plays into the paint magpies out there? Like, ooh, I got to buy this. Or do they actually offer? So, Marie, what's your feelings on this?
My feelings on this? I think we've got several big, well-known companies that are out there and producing good paints that have different strengths and weaknesses, and they're constantly improving and expanding on their lines. And then we have, and that's U.S.-centric, I want to say, in a lot of respects. And then we have a couple of bigger lines that are rest of the world. And I'm going to kind of put scale 75 into that one.
I'd argue no. I would. Okay, so here's my question for you then. What is your definition of the United States versus rest of the world? What paint lines are you talking about that are...
Ones I can go and get in my hobby store. I know Vallejo is Spanish, but I can go into my hobby store and get it.
The only U.S. paint line that I know of that's honest to goodness U.S. off the top of my head is Reaper. Everybody
Where's
else,
Army painter made from?
Spain.
That's a good question.
Spain.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
When I'm going, the way I'm distinguishing it is, as a U.S. person, if I can go into one of my hobby stores and get the paint, that's more of we'll call it a worldwide distribution. Then we'll call that a top tier. We'll call that a top tier distribution.
And I think honestly, to clarify, that would be Army Painter, Vallejo, most of the time when they're not having disruptions in their supply chain. Reaper is probably lower on the bottom of that list because it's hard to find their paint sometimes. Citadel,
I don't even have a store around me that sells it.
Citadel's probably the top of the list because they are probably the most widely available hobby paint. Army Painter is quickly becoming the second most available. Then you have Army Painter probably right after them, Vallejo after them. And
it depends on which type of hobby store you go to, but those are the ones we'll call tier 1, and then you fall into the things like tier 2, which are scale 75, which is a pretty big line. I'm going to say the horrible words that I personally don't like saying. Green Stuff World
I love Green Stuff World.
I hate Green Stuff World with an absolute passion.
I don't care. I do. I like it.
I don't. They're thieves and liars.
That's not why. I just like their paint.
Those types of paint lines that are extensive, but more difficult to get because you have to actively go find them. And then you have what I want to call boutique lines or ego lines. Yeah. And that's things that are coming out.
I would say, no, you can't roll those two in the same because there's boutique paints and there's ego paints. Because I would say... now, I know two local stockists, because I go to a lot of hobby shops all over the United States.
Really?
And I know a couple places that carry, holy crap, I'm completely just...
Turbo Dork?
Thank you. Yes, actually, Turbo Dork. I was like looking over at my desk, like, where's it at? Because I got
I'll call it Turbo. Yeah.
So I know a couple stockists that do actually carry Turbo Dork, but I would say those are very boutique paints, but they're not ego paints because to me, ego paints are a paint line that offer nothing to the painting community. They're just a rehash, maybe with slightly different colors, and they really offer nothing. Turbo Dork is not like that. They have a paint line that is very unique in what it does. It was the first paint line that was acrylic based that I know of that does what it does in a wide range. Now, other companies have taken upon that idea and also released their own paints. Actually, you know what? I stand corrected. Apple Barrel. Apple Barrel had color shifting paints before Turbo Dork because I was playing around with apple barrel paints, because it was actually very expensive paint. It was like, for apple barrel, it was like $10, $10 for a thing of apple barrel color shifting paint. And I remember I was messing with it because Jim and I stayed on after a podcast one time for hours, and this is right when he was starting with his oil paints, and I was messing with the apple barrel paints, trying to get them usable, because apple barrel is not formulated to be used on modelcraft. So I was messing with a whole bunch of different things to try to get it to be usable with modelcraft. And shortly after that, Turbo Dork announced their release, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And they actually have, personally, I think they have better colors. Now, there are other alternatives like Spastics, but that's a very, very harsh paint. And if you don't know what you're
never
doing,
heard of that. What's that?
It's a paint that's primarily used for, you could say automotive. You could do it with like RCs. You could do it with, it's very, very caustic. Like,
is it like an alcohol based thing or something?
I don't know if it's alcohol. Let's see.
Never heard of that before.
It's the use in a very well ventilated area, and it is very flammable.
So don't drink it.
Adequate ventilation. No, definitely. Yes, it is ethyl acetate. So it is an alcohol base. It's super fine pigment. Like I'm holding the holographic stuff. So when you spray it down, it has a holographic look. It has true color shifting paint. Like, it's the people that talk about color shifters and Turbo Dork and stuff. Those are color shifting. Spastics has actual color changing paints, and there's a big difference between the two.
Is it like temperature?
No. It's how how the color changes in regards to. Oh man, there's some. Let's hold the discussion of color changing paints and color shifting paints for another one, because it's like in my head, I kind of know it has to do with like the crystal matrices of the paint when it dries and how the tubes are aligned with each other and they reflect the light and all of this other jazz. And on some tokens, it's not a huge difference, but it is like, you see, if you have two things that are identical with, let's say, green-purple color shift versus green-purple color change paint, there is a marked difference between them when they're sitting next to each other. Like if you're looking at them both, you can definitely tell that the color changing paint is different. If you ever, for the car people that are out there, if you remember the 1998 Mystic Cobra that was released in limited edition, it actually had color changing paint versus color shifting. It's just how the color is done versus how the light reflects on it. But we can definitely talk about it later. I don't know exactly how to put it into words that would be layman. So they make actually true color changing paint versus color shifting paint. It does look amazing when you get it put on right. It is also incredibly a pain in the butt to get it put on right. Like you can get away with a small mold line on color shifting paint. It won't make it look too wonky. You cannot on color changing. It has to be perfectly baby butt smooth to go on right. If you get orange peel or anything, even just the slight change of angle will cause it to change color. So it's very noticeable if you don't have it just right.
It's persnickety.
Very much, very much. So, and then honestly, a lot of the ego-driven paints, if you have a paint line out and you released it after everybody and their mom has a paint line out and it honestly doesn't offer anything, then you fall in this category.
What about rebranded just for like advertisement purposes? Like how BattleTech came out with their Army Painter paint line, and like other games like that military game used to have their own. Yes, they had their own. That should be a category. People that just have like
okay, so those do add something. They are kind of egocentric in a way, but they're brand egocentric, and also normally they have different colors. There's a different color to.
Well, I kind of see the Army Painter Zombicide range.
Yes, there you go.
Into that.
Yeah.
Because it's specific to the game, so people know that they're getting the paints that they need.
Exactly.
At least the basic ones for the models for the game, and nothing else. I think it's a really great sales technique because they've partnered with them, and you get what you want.
And you could say that honestly, that is what it adds, is that it lets the buyers or the players of those games, Zombicide, Battletech, Flames of War, know that these are the colors that are going to go with their game. And maybe there are slight changes to the colors, such as Flames of War. Maybe they have a German gray, where the main line didn't have that gray that matches what the historical planes used, or they have, so there's slight differences. That I would say is not so much a ego as it is as that type of branding does add to the paint, because it allows people to know.
That's a partnership.
So then let's go back to the D&D Prismatic paint. Does that fall under that category of paint made for a game, or does it fall under the egotistical thing?
I don't think it's egotistical. My opinion is I don't think it's egotistical. Because it does fall under the, hey, this is for a game. There is 60 paints, 20 new ones.
Now, the question is, are those paints named in such a way that tie them into the game?
Okay.
Well, I have one. I bought only one, and it's called Myconid Spore.
Okay, so the 20 original, so of the 60, there's 40 colors that follow exactly what game colors are. Man, I meant to actually pull this up before we even started. So
we kind of rushed the start.
Well, yeah, because I had to head out of here sometime soon. But the colors that they used that were already part of the line of paint from Vallejo is stuff like black, white, blood red, dead winter, and now this is in with partnership with WizKids. So it's WizKids hired Vallejo to design their paint line for them. They have two different sets. You've got the starter set, then you have the intermediate set. Both of them have 30 colors in them. I believe it's actually 2010. So 20 of them will be new and 10 of them will be ones that were out before. In the basic set, you've got stuff this is stuff that was already around in Vallejo's repertoire, and it's Bone White, Bloody Red, Dead Flesh, Elf Skin Tone, Ghost Gray, Goblin Green, Gold Yellow, Hammered Copper Metallic, Hexed Lichen. So yeah, I would honestly say that reading these colors, they definitely picked the color line, the colors to go with this set that definitely do tie into D&D. And now the new colors is like Black Pudding, Behir Breath, Displacer Beast, Flame Skull Green, a Gray Ooze. So the new paint colors are most definitely D&D oriented, like to the point of actual D&D names. And it follows...
Like themed, right?
Right. And it follows to the intermediate too.
Well, it's also, these are put out by WizKids, which have the WizKid miniatures that have the D&D names on them. It's like Reaper Bones.
Well, I mean, WizKids holds license. These are officially licensed paints, officially licensed minis, everything. In the other one, you've got Bullywag Hide, Ettincap, Fairy Dragon Wings, Ghoulfleck, a Lithid Skin, Cobalt Scales, Jubilex Slime Wash. Myconid Spore, so that's one of the new colors. Rust Monster, Tarrasque Carapace, Thrycreen Chitin, and then Winterwolf Pelt. So I will even go one further. I think this paint line actually adds to the painting community as well. I think that... And
we had also talked about... Sorry, I keep interrupting. We had also talked about the fact that they're the small bottles.
That's what I was actually about to bring up.
Yeah, they are small.
So one thing I think that this actually offers to the painting community, and I can't remember if it was one of our listeners or if it was you, Jessica, that actually brought these paints up. Was it you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I bought one just because I was like, what is this?
So when you brought it up, I'll be honest, my initial reaction was like, this is dumb. It's just another boutique item, blah, blah, blah. Then I started researching it. My knee jerk was, this is just a a blatant, hey, buy our stuff. Oh, that Jubilex slime wash actually looks, I'm not going to lie. Anyways, it's like a greenish turquoise, almost like almost a little bit of a bluish emerald wash. That's actually pretty nice. So, and you can go to, it's whizkids.com/prismatic paints, and you can see everything. These are already out. They came out like a month or two ago. Now, I liked the fact that there was new line of paint, and this is Vallejo. So if you have the colors that are already out, like Magic Blue, I have like 3 bottles of Magic Blue. I don't need to buy anymore. Awesome. Yeah. Ultramarine Blue, got 2 bottles of that. Don't need to buy anymore. Bloody Red, got a bloody lot of it. So, I can go through here and be like, okay, I don't need to order all of this kit, because I own most of these. Now, the one thing that was said, and it actually made me go, oh, is these are 8 milliliter bottles. And so they're very small bottles. And to me, that's something that does add to the community, because there isn't a paint manufacturer that actually released small form factor bottles before. Everybody else is always like these chunky 15 mil bottles that Games Workshop releases, or the 900 drop top bottles that are almost all the same shape, but not quite the same shape that everybody else does. And this one is a small dropper bottle, but it's small. So if you want to make a travel kit, these are going to be a lot easier to travel. Or let's say you want, what's a kind of an obscure color here?
I mean, I'm a girl, so I'm just going to say this. They are literally the same size as a lipstick.
Yeah. So let's say you wanted a bottle of Magic Blue, but you weren't going to use a lot of Magic Blue. You can go out and buy one of these. Now, I understand you're probably sitting there thinking like, but Larry, cost effective. These are only, as far as we can tell. I reached out to WizKids and have not got a response yet to confirm. But as far as we can tell, these bottles of paints are $2.50 a piece.
Yeah, I paid $2.49.
And that's $2.49 is the MSRP from what we can understand. I just say $2.50 because screw.
We round up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you do look around, you can find them for less than $2 a bottle, and you can find them upwards of $4 a bottle. Do not pay $4 a bottle.
No.
Game Nerds. I have no affiliation. I don't know if they're a good company, so if they're crappy, my apologies. They just happen to be the one that I can see that are selling them for $1.97 a piece. No affiliation. Let me make that clear. So, like I said, they're the ones selling it for $1.97. If you want to go try them out, let me know. Let me know if they did good or not. But I honestly think that this is something that adds to it. They didn't make a line of 60 paints that are completely different. And like when I saw the bottles, I was like, that looks like Vallejo's numbering scheme, because Vallejo has this numbering scheme that's like 92 dot in a 3-digit code. 92 means, I believe it's a game color line, like their basic game color paints, and it's a whole different numbering system. And I was like, that looks like Vallejo's numbering system. What the heck? And then I actually looked into it and I was like, oh, these are Vallejo paints. Now, I did reach out to Vallejo, and I got the most non-answer ever.
Non-answer.
Like, I thought I didn't ask anything wrong.
I saw the original email.
Yeah.
Larry showed me the response, and I did the golden retriever head tilt going.
So I was like, hey, it's Larry from the Models Workshop podcast. Next episode we're planning on talking about the paints. What's the typical shelf life of your paints? What's things that can affect the shelf life? What are the 20 unique colors that were developed? I found that out. It was actually on the WizKids website. Are there any plans to expand beyond 60? That was the one that I still don't know. And I was like, what it was like working for WizKids with WizKids for D&D. And I was like, hey, thanks and everything else. And like, dude wrote back like, thanks for contacting us. Unfortunately, we have not the information you need about the D&D prismatic paints. Even this is the line that kills me. Even if we had some collaborations with WizKid, this range is produced and commercialized 100% by them. We encourage you to contact them in order to have the information required. I was like, even if we had collaboration. It's on their website. Like literally my homie, it's on their main website for the paints that you guys designed them. This is not a secret. Like I didn't go taste it and be like, tastes like Vallejo. I was just like, hey, I can't confirm nor deny that we worked with these guys. But WizKids is like, Vallejo made the paint, which I honestly think was a big selling point. Like, I was like, oh, okay. The fact that this is Vallejo game colors really makes me go, oh.
Hold on a second. Let me think back. Didn't they advertise when their miniatures first came out that they had Vallejo primer on them already?
I knew they were
That's a good question.
I don't know if it was.
This is a long-running partnership between them and Vallejo.
Possibly, and good for them. It was just really, I was just like, okay. So I emailed back. I was like, dear Mr. Fernandez, thank you for your reply. And I understand not being able to answer questions about the Prismatic line specifically. Can you answer the question, what's the typical shelf life of your game colors line of paint? Because it does say that these are game color paints. So I was like, let's just ask a question about the game color paints. Now, his response was actually pretty good. He's like, our paints do not have an exact expired date, but they have an average quality of life of 4 to 5 years. From that time, they could start losing their quality, and the result is not the same as when they were produced. One of the signs is the segmentation of the paint or transformation of the tone due to the degradation of the materials involved in the pigmentation of the product. The shelf life of game colors, as any other of our products, depends on the way they are stored, climate changes, etc. We have found some paints that are still useful after 10 years, but the new game color is recently produced. Not 100% sure what he means about the last one.
But they don't have any information that they can share about what its longevity is going to be.
Right. Okay, that's fair. But good information. Now, I do know even if you do see some segmentation, that's pigment settling, and as long as you know how to work on them. Vortex mixer, maybe adding a drop or two of medium, and you can get them back pretty much to new. Now, I have noticed that some of their paints will tarnish, oxidize.
Yes, I got a bottle of oxidized copper direct from the hobby store.
Yeah, so you have to be some of their paints will actually start transforming colors if they are still in their liquid form after a while. I have he said 10 years. I have Vallejo paints that are 20 years old that are still good, that are still fluid. They probably need a little bit of medium mixed into them or maybe even a drop of water to thin them up a little bit, but they're still in the dropper, they're still liquid, and they are still good. And I have seen I've had some of the bottles actually freeze and then thaw, and they were pretty. I mean, I couldn't tell a difference. Now I know some mediums that are mixed in with paints do not handle being frozen. Like, do not freeze Turbo Dorks. I've actually seen the result of that during the cold snap about 3 years ago. That local stockist of Turbo Dork. Now he carries the whole kit and caboodle. So he's fun to go to. I love going to his shop because he has all the Turbo Dork, and I love me some Turbo Dork. So it was during that stupid cold storm that happened like 3 years ago. I mean, it was ridiculously cold, and apparently they were shipped in a non-refrigerated or non-sealed container. And while they were in the container, they froze. And like half of them were just completely dead. And then, Turbo Dork did awesome. They actually shipped him out all new, every one of the ones that was ruined. But yeah, and it was weird. I didn't know that if on certain paints, if you freeze them, it causes the medium to basically just like dry out. It was weird. You would think that it wouldn't happen because it wasn't exposed to air, but yeah, these things rock freaking solid. It's like, okay, so it basically caused all of the medium to seize, just like if it was warmed.
I had bought a Scale 75, the neon colors set that they had, and they must have been, I don't know, in the truck or whatever it was, they got it there. It must have been very cold because when you opened it, I don't know if you remember when Citadel a long time ago made dry paints for dry brushing. that is the consistency that was inside of them when you took the lid off. They reminded me of that springy, weird, gloopy, like, paint from the dry brush paints that Citadel made like, a long time ago. It was strange.
Dry brush neon paints. I could get behind that.
That's what it was like, though. It was seriously, it was like not hard. It was not hard at all. It was thick, and I don't know.
Damn, she's thick.
It is. But yeah, it was like spongy and like a gel almost. It was just weird. It was weird.
Yeah, I've seen those things. So, yeah. Marie, what's your take on this? I've blabbered on that, what I think of it, but what's your take on that?
On the whole prismatic paints?
Yeah, what do you think of?
I think they're a nice addition to the hobby, specifically for a couple of reasons. One is it's going to get people who are not sure what the heck color to use to get painting. Hey, look, I have a beholder. Oh, look, they have a color called beholder. So yeah, there's going to be some duplication. It's not going to be really original to start with, but they're going to have paint on them. But those small bottles are going to be a game changer in some respects for the more unusual colors. And hopefully they'll keep the more unusual colors. Because how often do you need something like a neon, icky, the Reaper used to have it in a triad, and they put it out and put it back. It's this really weird yellow, greenish, icky kind of color, but it goes beautiful against a burgundy wine. It's the complement of it, but it's really difficult to find in a paint. So if they have these wonderful colors you don't use very often, you can get yourself for $2.50. You can get yourself a bottle of it to use here and there, so you can paint your Space Marine eye lenses in this particular color.
Oh, there you go.
And your plasma weapons kind of thing, without having to invest in a $7 pot of paint.
There you go.
So you can really use them for more of the detail-oriented stuff. And when you get into the competition painting, that's when those little bottles start coming even more handy, because they use so many different colors. Sometimes you really only want to edge highlight on the OSL of these. And instead of trying to mix out this really weird bright color, they can go grab something that's almost there, add their little bit to it, and go. Mm-hmm. So I really think that they're going to be a good addition to the hobby if they're going to be available. That's the other thing, is who's going to stock them. It's the only question I have. Now, with WizKids miniatures being so popular, there's a good chance that, and I've seen already that the racks are for sale for them. Oh. And they also sell hobby knives and brushes and sanding sticks. They have a few of the basic paint tools as well. I think if you get to a hobby store that's going to carry them, they're going to be pretty popular, especially at that price point. And the fact that you can, all right, I'm going to be really sexist here. You can bring it home and the wife isn't going to go nuts because you have this huge bag of paint, because it's only half as big. And those bottles are going to be very similarly sized to a lot of the textile paints and other things that are in hobby stores for other hobbies in the craft store.
Not everybody has big spaces for painting.
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to be very lucky, but not everybody is. We've all seen the person that's painting on, the side of his couch. He's holding a mini on his desk.
The person moving the TV tray around.
Right.
Like I said, I think these are going to, again, be wonderful for space, interesting for rarely used colors, and helping people get into the hobby because they're name friendly. Mm-hmm. They're going to have that recognition to them. So if we can get people stocking them, I think they're going to be a really nice addition. I want to play with them. I want to see what they're like on the brush, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I have one and it's okay. It's thick. It reminds me of any other Vallejo paint. I mean, it is just it's a Vallejo paint. Not that that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. Vallejo makes great paint, so you would expect the same quality. But, maybe just if you already have the full line of Vallejo and maybe just picking up the extra colors, if they're ones that appeal to you, would work out. And I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents just because we were talking about it. I did pull up the shelf life of the majority of the different paints and mediums that we use. And so I just wanted to throw it out there in case anybody wanted to know. So like oil paint, for example, they say the shelf life is 30 to 40 years. So that's like a lifetime. The shelf life of watercolors, this kind of surprises me. They say 2 to 3 years, but it could last 10 to 15 years if you properly take care of them and rehydrate the paint yourself periodically. I never know how you pronounce this word. I think it's gouache, Gouache. How do you pronounce that word?
Gouache. Yeah, apparently we don't know how to pronounce it either.
Yeah, that only lasts 2. And it's highly susceptible to mold, fungus, and bacteria. So you have to be very careful how you store that. And they're suggesting, if you want to know if your acrylic paint is good, maybe you find a big box of paint that's really, that you haven't seen in a long time. You're like, I wonder how this paint is. And they said if you smell it, if it's bad, it will actually smell sour. So it'll have like a stinky milk smell, is what they say. So if you open up a bottle of paint and you're like, I wonder if this is cool before you start, if you're a brush licker, before you start sticking in your mouth, you might want to smell it and see if it smells like rotten milk. And then pigments, if you want to know pigments, those they say will last forever. So I'm going to leave you with that. It'll last forever for pigments.
So the medium is what really makes the distinguishing factor of paint lifespan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
Now we know.
Oh, so yeah, like here's another thing. If you go to Amazon and you look up Essence oil carriers, a lot of Essence oil carriers do accept like the little 8mm bottles. So you can actually buy one of those and modify it to be a travel paint kit. You just cut the foam for like like a space for a miniature, and work it out, and you can carry like 18 bottles of paint with you, or you can carry the entire line. Now, here's another little tip that I'll give. Do not buy the suitcases. The math doesn't add up. It really doesn't, because there's 30 paints in there with an MSRP of $250. That's $75 of paint. The kit is $99. So what are we getting for the extra $24? As far as I can tell, just looking at the kit and the content, you get 2 paintbrushes, and I have used Vallejo paintbrushes before. Love their paints. Their paintbrushes suck ass. Don't use them. They're junk. They're literally throwaway paintbrushes. Just because Jim can paint a masterpiece with it doesn't mean anybody else can. But anyways, and then you get the suitcase. So if you think the carry suitcase is worth $24, get it. But I don't. You can literally go buy like I said, it either for vaping, the little bottles, dropper bottles for vaping, or the essential oil bottles. You can find them like for $25. Yeah, I know, same price. But for that $25, you get enough spaces to hold all 60 paints and then some, like a space for the brushes and everything else. So personally, I would individually buy the paints. It's just cheaper, and especially if you can find them for $2 a pop, that means you're spending $60 per line, $120 total versus $200. That's an $80 savings. To me, that's great, because you can go buy a couple nice Kolinsky brushes, or even nicer synthetic if that's your gig, and then buy a $20 carry case from Amazon, and they'll all fit into there. So yeah, the suitcases really don't float my boat.
No, I can't imagine carrying that around a convention.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I am going to disclose one of my dirty little paint secrets, the thing I have to do. I'm constantly on the lookout for good yellows and reds, because those are very difficult colors to get good coverage.
Yes.
If you ever are over here and you start looking through my paints, you will start seeing there's a tendency to have a lot of yellows and reds in various brands, because that's kind of how I judge a paint line, is the yellow and the red. How well do they cover? So now I want to try the Prismatic yellow, and anytime I hear of a new paint line,
the yellow and the red,
I want to get a copy. I want to get a bottle of the yellow and the bottle of the red, and test them, because I'm always on the lookout for my ultimate. And what's really sad is I had my ultimate. It was the Reaper Pro paint. There was a red and a yellow that were perfect. They were one coat, and they were one coat coverage. And it wasn't too thick, and you could build off of it. You could get a good clean yellow. And of course, Reaper Pro paint was discontinued long ago, which is really, it happens. Paint lines come and go. And I think I still have a bottle of each that I'm hoarding. But Yellow and reds are ones that I can't help myself that I have to try.
You got to try the Chimera Red. It's called the Red, and I'm telling you, it is the best red I've ever used.
I'll have to give it a try, and
yes,
but that's something if Larry would notice probably more than you, because Larry sometimes comes over to my house
once every decade or two.
Once every quarter, I get a Larry visit, and
y'all are so lucky.
So it's really funny to see just how many yellows and reds I have, and that's because I'm looking for the right yellow and red paint, not the color, but the paint. And going off yellow, Greg, how do you say his last name? Zionga? You know Greg, right? You probably do. I'm mangling his last name horribly. Wonderful guy, wonderful painter. He does the cutout vellum basing things like the butterflies and dragonflies and ferns and everything.
Oh, wow.
But he's the one that gave me the biggest hint on getting an opaque yellow base coat, which is to mix your yellow with white, because white is opaque. So you put down a light yellow base coat because you've added white, and then you can keep a clean yellow as you move back up. Then you can paint dark over it and it covers. So he's the one
a class with that Seth guy. He said to use pink underneath it.
Now
Isn't that crazy?
I've seen pink, and I think Goobertown has done it. I've seen a few of them on YouTube, and they use a lot more inks. But if you do pink and then you start using yellow inks, it'll auto shadow into orange.
Wow.
So I have to try that.
I honestly, the way I do it is I literally use yellow primer. I prime my miniatures yellow.
Well, I have these wonderful Space Marine casualty figures that I can put on my orc bases, because I've been wanting to try painting Space Marines, but I don't want Space Marines hanging around.
Mm-hmm. You know,
so
I have
casualty figures.
15,000 points of Space Marines. You can borrow a few if you want to paint some.
No, I'll just get the casualty ones and paint them so I can like squish them under my dreadnoughts and my Killicans. But this way, I want to try that pink primer, because I have some of the pink badger, and spraying on yellow and see if it really does do the orange shading automatically.
Do you have to have that like speed paint or anything to do it, or just any yellow?
No, he was using yellow. I've seen it done with yellow inks. I've seen it done with yellow paints. But if you look it up on YouTube, you'll see it. If you just see prime pink for yellow, if you just search for it, and you'll see it happen, and it's like, wait, what? That's so absolutely freaking cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now we're all gonna have to go and start trying out yellow and pink and putting light yellow and then trying yellow primer, and ooh man, I have to do an experiment. Which one is
I know it's going to be all kinds of fun. But yeah, I really wanted to try painting the Space Marines. But again, I don't want to just have the figures sitting around. I have the Space Marine casualties, which will be great on bases, and the latest incarnation of the Gauze Mini, because it just keeps growing. The one that I have has about 2/3 of a Space Marine hanging from his claw.
Oh.
Only about 2/3 of the Space Marine, which will give me a chance to play with it and play with, battle damage.
Which third? The top third or the bottom 2/3?
It's just kind of
legs
pieces.
And
it's pieces. It's kind of pieces.
Oh.
But I think he did it the smart way, where you can magnetize the hand, and then you can have multiples of these. So, you're playing. What are you playing? Oh, Imperial Guard. Okay, hold on. Click, and then you have your Imperial Guard guy hanging off of his hand. Just because it's fun to do that.
Mm.
Orc players are just kind of silly that way.
No.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, audience people, wonderful listeners. Do you buy a paint line because it goes along with the game that you're playing? Would you buy the Zombicide paint line because it goes with the game? Or would you just buy the paint for the color that you like? What influences you to buy what paint line?
That is actually an amazing question.
I'm really curious.
What drives you to buy the paint that you do? Is it simple? Is it what's available? Because that's honestly a very valid reason. Is it because it was marketed for the game that you play, such as, Games Workshop, which could also play into the availability? Is it because you don't want to buy Citadel paints because they are kind of pricey, so you go with what's available, such as Army Painter or even Vallejo, depending?
Would you buy it because your YouTube favorite tells you to?
That was going to be my other question, is how did you choose your first paint line? Not what paint lines you put, but what was factored into your decision to buy your first paint brand? Now they may have like gone and done like the rest of us do and shuffle in all the different ones that they can get. But what was the deciding factor that said, I'm going to buy army paint? Now, I know a lot of the Games Workshop people are doing it because of the Games Workshop colors. So that's going to be an obvious answer.
Are they doing that because of the game, or are they doing that because that's what's most available? Like, are they buying those Citadel paints? Are they buying them because they are associated with Warhammer? Or are they buying them because they're there?
I think, honestly, both of those answers are very valid. I think both answers are 100% valid, because sometimes if you have a Games Workshop store, that is the paint that's available. It's the paint you started on, and let's face it, GW's paints are proprietary. 3, GW is not dumb. They took that entire paint by numbers thing they have, and they keep expanding on it, and they keep making it better, and keep making it better, and keep making it better. And I keep going back and I look at it, and it's like now 5 different steps that you can do for your models, and they won't win any awards, but they'll look damn good on the table. So, and also, yes, Games Workshop paints are expensive, but I will harp on this, is that they're very thick. They're not meant to be used straight out the bottle. So their price per milliliter has a big asterisk next to it. But, also it's like, if my local store carried Citadel and they carried Vallejo. I like the dropper bottle, so I went with Vallejo, and I've kind of been a fan of Vallejo, and then I switched over to War Colors because I like their price. I like the fact that they're very, very boutique. I like their stupidly simple naming scheme. Absolutely love that. I wish more paint lines would do that. I need less McCragger blue and more blue 4.
What's different about them versus your Vallejo?
One, he's very open with what the opacity is of the paints and the color fastness. So each bottle of War Colors is, first off, they're done in what I call slices, because Triad doesn't fit, but they're done in slices. And if you take the number 3 of the color, and I think there's 17 or 19 last time I checked. If you take the number 3 of each one of those colors, that is the raw color. And then if you move up, like, let's say blue, because that's what the blue is. It's blue. Blue 1 or blue 3. And then if you go like up to blue 1, it's a lot of white is added to it. And if you go to blue 5, a lot of black is added to it.
Oh, okay.
And then it goes all the way across, and you've got, and all the paints are like that: red, yellow, turquoise, ultramarine, warm gray, cool gray, neutral gray, black, white. Those don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would just be silly. Hey, look, it's it's my white with like black added to it. We call that gray, Greg. We call that gray. But it's very simplistic. The naming scheme is super simplistic. They're very easy to understand. And like when Shoshi had, or with her little with her group that she has going on with the colorblind painters, we suggested this paint line with them a lot, because it was very simple. The naming scheme told you what was in the bottle. There was no figuring out, hey, is this a blue? No, it says it's a blue. It's a blue 3. And it's just straight blue. Ultramarine, a little bit darker. You've got a slightly lighter blue. And that's how it was. Plus the fact, I don't even know how many paints they have, or color or metallics they have now, but at one point it was like 26 metallics. And they were just awesome. And the fact they're like $2.25 a bottle. And yeah.
Really? That's so cheap. Wow.
The biggest complaints I have about them is the bottles that he uses are hard plastic versus soft plastic. So they can be incredibly hard to actually squeeze paint out. And there's some other stuff. Like, I have the original paints. Like, when he first started, I was one of the first people that started buying from him and was cheerleading his brand. And I know I sold a lot. And it was funny because there's been, of all the people that bought War Colors, and I know I sold, like, I did the math. I know I sold several thousand bottles of his paint. and full lines. I know I sold multiple full lines to people. It was like Brown 4 or Brown 2. I can't remember which one it was exactly, but it was like Brown 2 had a real bad problem. And I heard about 3 people come to me, and they're like, "Hey, this brown, it's doing this weird stuff." And the first one I was like, "Okay, that's weird." But like the third person that reached out and told me the exact same color, I was like, "All right, And I emailed.
There's something to this.
Yeah, so I emailed the owner of the company. I'm like, "Hey, I'm getting multiple reports of this one paint messing up real bad." And he's like, "Oh, okay, let me look into it." And yeah, it turned out there was a formulation issue, and it was causing it to curdle. I want to say it's been a few years, but I want to say it was curdling, like effectively,
Weird.
just like milk when it curdles. It was doing that,
like getting clumpy.
Yeah, just like cheese curd. So it was really weird. But that was the only color it did it. It was this one color, and it was just a misformulation. And he fixed it, and he sent out replacement bottles to everyone who had bought one. Dude's like super cool. You won't see. He's open to talking to stores about putting his paints in there, but he likes the price point that he sells at now, and he really doesn't want to. He likes the two. Maybe I should actually. It's been a while. But he just likes the price point that he's at right now with his paints, and he doesn't want to increase the price. So he's like, I'll just sell it from my website. And apparently he's doing fairly good. I should probably log in and see it.
Yeah.
But free
I
gravy
actually
for all.
do need to get, I've said this any number of times. I do need to get in touch with him. I need to send him an email. I have his gel paints, and I've had them long enough and lived in a really dry climate that they are no longer paints. I don't know if they can be restored. Solids. Not solids as much as goos. I don't know what medium he uses with them, so I need to get in touch and find out if they can be saved. If not, they can't. I understand.
Oh, the gem paints? That's probably the one set. And to be fair, I didn't like when GW did it either, because he did it, and then I can't remember who did it first, but they both did it, and I honestly didn't like either one of them. I didn't like how they lay.
Were they like a candy ink or something, or?
Yes, like
okay.
Just thicker.
I would say that honestly, the best bet if you're going to go for gems, just go get the was it Testers? The Testers clear glaze that they have. That's kind of what they were going for, but they wanted it in an acrylic, and it just, if you put it on wrong, it orange peels real bad, and it looks like butt. So
no one wants to look like a butt.
I don't know. Okay, so they're $3. Oh no. Okay, so it depends on. They range between $2.50 and $3 a bottle. So they're still, and the cool thing I like about it is quite literally you can buy 250 milliliters of paint. Like if you're a big commission artist and you use a specific paint a lot, you can order it in a 250 milliliter bottle for $20 instead of a 20 milliliter.
I didn't know that was a thing. I never really thought about that before. That makes sense.
And have you seen their free gravy?
Yeah, I saw that. And another beef. Kind of. It's the leftovers. Now
they take all the leftovers and they pour them together, and for a penny, you can get a 30 milliliter bottle of it, of whatever color that is at that point.
That's really funny.
Now another thing that he's done, and he'd actually started on this, and I do own a couple of them, is his Nostalgia 88 line. And now that I'm looking, he's expanded it. 6 times 9, 54 plus 6, so 60. He's up to 60 colors, and last time I looked, he had like 12. But these are the old Citadel paints, the ones that were back in 1988. So if you want Goblin Green as an example, this is where you get it. Warlord or Chaos Black, Skull White, the original actual Blood Red, the Sunburst Yellow that everybody loves, the Enchanted Blue that everybody loves. And he's actually adding more. He just recently sent an email out asking for people that if they had any of these, he will buy them off of him, because he wants to re-release the entirety of the 1988 miniature paint color line. So yeah, and
Isn't that what the cuttlefish guy did? He tried to redo the old paint scheme from the old, or is that Duncan Rhodes, his paints that they trying to redo the old paint scheme from old GW paints?
I don't know. That's another one of those. Currently, he's classified as a boutique line, or not a boutique line. I haven't researched the new Duncan paints. Enough.
I knew something like that.
I hope that it isn't a. I hope it isn't a thing of, oh, hey, look, it's just paint to put my name on it. I hope his paints offer something. I would say, hopefully they do. I mean, it's Duncan. I like Duncan. Please don't be the person that just puts his name on a bottle just for schnitz and giggles.
I could swear that when I was at Adepticon last year that it had something to do with old colors that GW used or something.
And it might be.
I don't know much about him. Did he used to teach GW? Teach like the 3-step or whatever paint?
Oh yeah, the
Is that?
Oh yeah, the too thin coats. That's him.
Yeah. So I think it has something to do with that.
That's him. Literally, he's the one he's the one that coined that term, too thin coats.
Oh, no way, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's him. Oh.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with that, with the paints that they used to use back then. But don't quote me. Well, I mean, you can quote me, but you might be quoting me wrong. So
don't quote me on that.
Yes.
Oh wow, I still have money in my affiliate account from More Colors.
Yeah, so we'll see if I actually remember to send him an email asking what I can do to recover my gem paints, because I did try them for headlights, and part of the problem was that I didn't have the color that I wanted to use for the color schemes, because again, you're stuck with whatever color that they are, and none of the colors matched up to my color scheme.
Oh no.
So it's like, I want to crud. They're not going to. And I know I want to find a use for them. And now that I'm doing more terrain, I think that I might have more. It'll be more interesting to play with them if I could make them paint again. Just like, and I will freely admit this, I have the Vallejo fluorescent, because I remember Jim Wapel was showing off the fluorescent work that he did. I freely admit I have no idea how to use these fluorescent paints in my paint jobs. And I was going to take a class on it one year, and for whatever reason, I didn't get a chance to. I have no idea the best use of these fluorescent paints in my paint jobs, and I've heard that they tend to fade over time. They lose that big fluorescent quality, but I don't know how to use them.
I mean, I use them for highlights. And I painted we did a one shot a while back where I painted all the minis with fluorescent paints, and I put up black lights and stuff. But if you check Vince Venturella's, if you watch any of his, he uses a lot of fluorescents.
Yeah, I know I need to sit and figure it out. Once I'm painting more, I need to sit and figure it out and how best to use them. And I just think, and I like I say, I will freely admit that I have the paints with every intention to use them, but I don't know how. I know how to prime pink and use yellow to make orange. I don't know where to use my fluorescent paints.
Yeah.
I use them, honestly. I use them as extreme edge highlights. Like, if I'm painting an orc, well, I mean, that seems to be like, oh, that makes sense. Like I have an orc that glows, is actually blacklight reactive. Like it'll glow under a black light. I mean, I painted it. I painted it with, actually, I painted it with a black light. It was a bit of a nightmare.
Oh, that'd be fun.
No, really, it is not. No, it's actually kind of, it made me really sick to my stomach, after a while, because like you airbrush like normally and you're like, all right, cool. That's whatever. But then you try to airbrush under a black light, and the cool thing is you definitely get to see the pattern of your spray because the paint is very visible coming out. And after a while, it starts messing with your eyes. And I had a real bad headache and everything. The bust looks cool. But what I did was I used like the fluorescent greens on the super extreme highlights and like on the tip of the nose and maybe a couple bridges. And it was it wasn't liberal at all. It was very, very, specifically placed. And that made it where it popped without the black light. It made it pop with the black light. And I did the same with the blues and all that. I don't know if they fade though. That's a good point.
My tip for fluorescence is I always dry brush with a bright white, and then I go over it with the color that I want, the fluorescent color that I want. And it usually ends up popping. But I don't, I mean, I did ghosts. Again, I was doing them for black lights where I painted the ghost black, and then I dry brushed them white, and then I glazed over them with that bright green fluorescence, and it looked so awesome. It really did. So, I mean, it's they're what is it? They're a paint that's for a specific purpose when you're using them. But I can't say that though. Like I've watched, like I said, lots of Vince Venturella videos where he uses lots of neon pink and neon purples and neon blues. So I mean, I guess it all depends on what you're doing, but it works a lot easier for me if I do white first and then do the fluorescent color over.
It honestly depends on your paint style. Like I prime yellow, and then I prime red, and then I prime purple, and then I'll go back and I'll prime a little bit of white, and then I'll start painting my colors.
Yeah.
So it just depends, and that's not. I don't always do that. I really don't always do that. I do that on certain figures, and then on other figures, I'll base it purple, and then I'll add red, and then I'll add maybe a little bit of yellow, and then I'll add white. And it depends on what the outer tone that you're getting for. And some of them, I just spray the damn things. Oh, hey, look, they're ultramarines. I base them ultramarines with maybe a little bit of black mixed in, and then I hit them with regular ultramarine. It all depends on. It all depends on.
I've been practicing with airbrushing and getting more precise because the orc vehicles I've been priming in 3 colors. I've been doing gray for the body. I've been doing white when there's an orc showing, but then black on, especially when there's treads, because that gets the black into all the crevices so I don't have to jam a brush in there. And I still paint over it, obviously, with black so that I have a common color over it, but it really does kind of help me get more precise with my airbrushing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not very precise. I'm hoping once I get my freaking painting area set up, I will be able to practice more and actually do the coloring books with the ink and practice airbrushing.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, dollar store. And I have all the F&W inks I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
So, Larry, I did get a white finally. So if you've been holding on to a white for me, I got one because I want to play with white ink as well. The inks are what I've used when I make my own contrast paints, my version of contrast paint. And what's truly funny is when I started painting, I hated mixing colors, absolutely hating mixing colors. Reaper made triads for a reason. So hated mixing my own colors. Now I'm using inks to make my own colors.
Oh, so you learned.
So now I'm enjoying
great.
Mixing colors.
That's great. Good for you.
I have this wonderful book that a friend sent me on mixing colors in inks and acrylics. It's not really well indexed because it's kind of weird to try and find the colors you want, but it's giving me some really good ideas on what to mix in to get shadow colors.
Yeah.
Or how to make a particular shade. Now, like I need this with the hundreds of bottles of paint that I have. I probably have the shade sitting there. But it's nice to know what went into the shade, into that color, so that I can tweak it a little bit if I need to. And it's a wonderful book.
And there's also an amazing online tool that you can use as well. It's called Paint Rack.
I have Paint Rack.
Well, it has that functionality built in where you can actually you can make a profile for a miniature, and then you can be like, okay, boots, and you can actually type out what formula you use for the boots, and then pants, you can type out what formula you use for the pants. And by type out, I mean, you can actually put like what the base color was, and since it has like 10,000 different types of paints in it, it actually puts
those
the
are the
exact
sets.
Colors.
I believe those are the sets.
Yes, those are the sets that you can get. And
those are in the paid version. Mind you,
it's $3. It's the best $3 you can spend.
It's the best
$3
you'll ever spend. But I'm just making a note of it so people know that it is in the paid version.
And it's a one-time payment.
It's a one-time payment. Make the payment, do it. But it really gives you all the options that are there. And I use those sets all the time. I use those for how I make my contrast paints. That's where I keep all track of all those, is the ratios of inks that go into them.
Hey guys, I've got a friend here who just popped in. You guys go ahead and talk. I'm going to mute and I'll be right back in here in a minute.
Okay. I'm looking through something that a website that I was looking for and I've used before, where it's meant for making more online color schemes for like web pages.
Oh, you're talking about like Adobe?
No, it's
or
not Adobe.
Not Adobe. That Photoshop thing.
No, it's not that. It's its own one where you would pick a color and then it would create a color scheme for you that has different colors that go with it. And I know I've got it bookmarked.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. That's why I want to try and find it. I found another one that I had that had something similar. It's a color scheme. It says it's a color scheme designer, but it tends to be monochromatic. So it's one of those things where it's not really the same thing, where it would give you the other colors. So I'm looking through my incredible amount of ancient bookmarks while we're talking. Oh man, I really have some old bookmarks.
What was the book you were talking about that you were talking about that helped you with mixing colors?
I'll have to get the name of it and I'll pass it along to Larry to put into the show notes.
Yeah. Or put it in a Facebook group so everybody can see it that's listening. Because I think that's a good. I can't imagine that we're the only ones that don't like mixing colors.
Well, it's really interesting because one of the colors that they use in there is not an ink that I can get, which is a rose ink. So first you have to make rose, which is red with a touch of blue and white. Go figure. Other brands of inks do have the roses, and then it goes in there. But it's really interesting to see what goes into these. And like I say, I'll find it right now. As with my entire life, it's in a box.
Yeah.
So I might be able to find it. I might not be able to find it anytime soon. But it's, like I said, I'm just looking at this going, where? It wouldn't be that because that's too old. And I had to have saved it because it's just way too handy not to have saved. Color Wheel Pro, is that it?
And I just want to also point, because we were talking about Paint Rack. Yes, it costs $3, but it will save you so much money, because when you're in a paint store and you're like, oh, look, I think I'll get myself some paint, but you have no idea all the paint that you have, it'll make it so you're not rebuying a bunch of stuff you already have.
Yes.
That's where it saves you money.
I don't think they have the wish list though. Oh, can't reach the page for what I was looking for.
Yeah, so I just, for instance, if I go to the game store and I want to buy a Reaper paint, and I look and I say, oh, which ones don't I have? And then I can see which ones I don't have. So I'm not rebuying the same Naga green over and over again. Just because it appeals to me.
I found that out the hard way too as I was going through my paints. It's like, I have how many bottles of this?
Mm-hmm. Like ocean blue is my favorite color. This deep ocean, oh my God, I love that color. And I have like a couple of them because every time I'm there, I'm like, ooh.
That marine triad.
Yes.
Did you know that Army Painter has come out with triads?
I didn't.
I did not know that until Larry and I stopped at the hobby store and
Really?
They have an Army Painter display. They have a set of colors that I swear is almost identical to the Reaper Marine Triad. So now I need to go and snag it so I can try it and compare the two. Because I swear to goodness, that's one of my favorite skin tones is that Triad.
Yeah.
I mean, I adore that Triad.
Oh, I love that. The dark, it's like a, if you add aqua, it's like an aqua, but it's deep. It's like, I don't know, it reminds me of like an abyssal blue or something.
It's just rich.
Yeah, and it's definitely a one coat paint. You don't need, at least the dark color is a one coat paint.
Now, here's the other thing that since this is the all paint, all episode, it seems like.
Yes.
When you paint, do you start dark to light?
Yes.
Light to dark, middle,
dark
and
light.
Spread out?
No, I do dark to light. I work my way up.
Because I'm a dark to light as well.
Mm-hmm.
And other people are start in the middle and do the spread. Some are light to dark. I'm always kind of curious as to people's painting style. Now, are you another one who paints the face first? Because if that doesn't work, it has to go in the dip?
Nope. I do the hair first.
Hair is one of my last things to do generally.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of
the hair first and then the face.
No, I always try to get the face done first, because if I screw that thing up, then there's just no saving it. I was looking through my Amazon photos on this day, which can be good, can be bad, depending on what happened on that day in the past. Mm-hmm. And I have a couple of miniatures that I'd taken pictures of, and oh man, could I paint faces? I probably still can, but I can paint faces. So I had a couple of pictures I'd had the faces painted on them. That's about as far as I'd gotten. And they were absolutely awesome.
Wow.
But yeah,
I always do hair and then face. Yep. Hair, face, and then clothing, and then the rest of the skin, and then the weapon.
See, the way I figure it with the face is that way they're glaring at me, making them finish painting it.
Yes. Finish me.
And
eyes are actually the first. You want to talk about the first? I do hair, then eyes, then the rest of the face.
Because I'll do.
Do you do eyes and then the face, or face and eyes?
What I end up doing is the skin shadow on the face and whatever is attached to the face. So if there's cleavage or neck or whatever, I'll put that first base coat on of the
gender face,
of the darker face. And then I'll start on the face itself. Then I move on to the eyes, because if I can't get the eyes right, I'm just going to have to strip it and start over.
Oh, I do the eyes first, because I will do it over and over and over again. If there's something that I don't like about it, like I'll try to be putting the light fleck in, and I'll make it too big, and then it'll get on the skin. And it also feels like I can clean it up some at the end, like if I'm doing the skin tone around the eye at the end, instead of having layers and layers and layers of skin tone fixing my eyes that I jacked up. So
yeah, I've actually gotten pretty good at my steps for painting eyes, unless it's a Werner Clock mini where the eye is covered under the hair.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. And one of the miniatures that just came up recently. Now, I almost never compete. I say almost never because I did compete 2 years ago at ReaperCon.
Yeah, you did good too.
Well, the only reason I did that is because you got the special Reaper bucks.
Well, whatever the case is, you were brave, and that alone is worth an award.
Okay, do you want to know the truth of how? Do you want to know the truth about how I entered the painting contest?
Let's hear.
I grabbed one of the 3 minis I'd painted back in 2014 and threw them in there and took them with me.
Well, you know, it takes bravery just to put it on that table. For some people, other people, have egos the size of, Texas. But
the majority of the people
the
majority of the people want to know how they can improve, and they're looking to get judged on their paint jobs. I was already judged on my paint job. I said, "Hey, that's cool." Okay, and then I moved on. I learned, and there's a story behind it back in 2006, that I can't compete. Something happened in 2006, and I won't bring it into the podcast, but that's when I decided I would never actually compete for real again. So I don't. In this case, like I said, I wanted the freebie Reaper bucks, so I threw them in there, and then I didn't care.
Do it. Let's see what happens.
No, I literally did not care. I did not.
That's good.
I had to have someone text me from the awards ceremony saying, "Hey, you won a bronze." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I went back to what I was doing because I don't go to the awards ceremony. I don't care.
I would have worked myself up. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even have enjoyed the convention because I'd be sitting there going, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god,"
See,
the whole time.
That's the difference between. I've seen people break down in tears if they don't get the type of medal that they think they deserve.
Oh, I would just be sitting there. So I care too much about what people think. So I'd be sitting there next to like the case, watching people walk by and hearing them, and they'll be like, "Oh, this really sucks." I'm like, "Yeah, screw." This is good.
I honestly do not care. And my friend, my con husband Randy, has asked me to come back to the convention this year and make it my last year because I was supposed to go last year, but fate told me otherwise, and that was actually really funny.
Hey.
Hi.
So I'm going back to ReaperCon this year, and I'll probably grab. I have a couple of my favorite painted minis, and I'll probably grab those and enter them in the painting competition again.
Good. I'm glad.
And then I will enter them and walk away and figure out when I can go back and get them and pack them up to take them home.
That's the way that you deal with it. Everybody's different.
Because I'm not actually competing. I'm just doing it because you get free stuff sometimes.
Do you? You get free
and
things?
and you get the extra little ribbon on your badge because you.
Everyone wants a ribbon.
Oh man, those things get in the way.
I would love a ribbon.
I decided I'm gonna hang my badges with all the ribbons on them from the curtain rods in my gaming room, kind of between.
That's a good idea.
So that they're hanging up and they have all the ribbons hanging down and.
Yeah, I have mine hanging down a hook on the wall. I'm trying
to figure out where to hang my metal. I think I have a space on the side.
Where do I hang my metal? What's the best place for all my trophies?
On the wall.
It's a freaking bronze. No, the wall gets the dice.
I guess you could say that.
Regardless if you cared or didn't care, you did, and that's very good. It's something to carry with you.
I do. I'm proud of the medal that I won it. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't do anything special to earn it.
Yes, you did. You painted it. You entered it, and you were brave.
I did not do anything special that year to try to earn a medal. I painted a mini. I painted it to my own standards, and then I entered it because I wanted the free Reaper bucks. So.
Well, you got it, and you got a medal.
And I have the free Reaper bucks still.
Yay!
Yay!
Have you ever done at the ReaperCon? Have you ever done the tour of the factory?
I used to go to ReaperCon when it was at the factory.
Oh, that's cool.
I started going at ArtistCon 2005.
Oh
so
my.
yes, I was there when it was at the factory, and they gave tours then. And I've taken the factory tour a couple of times. I can't really take it now. I can't walk as much as I need to do the tour. And I can't go upstairs to see the offices. And they're moving the offices to the new building. And I've seen what there is to see for the most part.
Is there a store connected to the?
There is not. They did have a small game store, and that's been moved up to the newest building to be much bigger, with an arcade and more gaming room and everything. So they've become more of a gaming store, I believe.
Oh, they have. Neat. So there is a store. I was always wondering that if you went there, if there's a Reaper gaming store.
Now, Reaper does not compete with their resellers for pricing.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll have things like the sample bottles of paint for $1. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they have boxes of bones for $1.
Oh, nice.
Well,
do they have like unique, like some of the retired minis that you really can't find anymore? None of that? No.
Not really, no.
No, that'd be cool. Some of the old Sophies.
You want those? You just go digging in the boxes of minis that I have. Because for quite a while you could find them in the boneyard if you knew where to look. You could still find them because sometimes they would still be out. I was able to get a bunch of the League of Cake and Justice minis that way. So I have a number of the Ekignox that everybody loves, the hedgehog. I have like 6 of those. They're sitting in a box. But I'm really, really sad, and I can understand why, but there's no more boneyard shopping. And that's been dropping off with the prevalence of bones. The metal people just aren't there. And it was a big thing on them. And metal prices have gone up so much. So those of us who had metal credit on record, they did do something for us so that we could cash in our metal. And if you do trade-ins now, you can pick things off of the trade-in table. But you can't go back to Reaper and get fresh metal for them, which is what you used to be able to do. You go into the boneyard, which is their unpackaged minis, and say you wanted 10 of the sword off of a particular weapon sprue. You just go in with clippers and clip those 10 off, and you'd get them by the ounce.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you could really get that sort of thing was really, really popular, especially for conversions. Mm-hmm. So
Ironwind Metals, I don't know if you ever heard of them. Ironwind Metals, they always have these big bins, and they have baskets, and you can fill up the baskets with whatever metal minis you want, and then they put them on a scale and weigh them, and that's how much you pay. And that's pretty cool, too.
I think I saw them doing that at Gen Con a few years ago. Now, Gen Con, I'm not allowed to go to, I don't believe.
Oh, boy. Well, they did it there.
Well, the first time I went to Gen Con, I want to say was 2018, and my hotel caught on fire.
Oh.
Right outside my room, mind you. And the smoke alarms didn't go off until the fire reached the 3rd floor. and I was on the first floor. So 5 a.m. in the morning, we're all outside watching them put the hotel out. All right, fine. I went back the next year, 2019, stayed at the hotel across the way, mind you.
Uh-huh.
And there was a suspicious package, so bomb disposal was there.
Wow.
Now that I'm local to it, I still don't think I'm allowed to go because that means whatever happened to me is just going to follow me to the convention.
I mean, you do have some luck, man.
I do have some luck. I have some stories. But I don't play games at conventions, and I would just go there and go shopping. And one of the things I do have to do is get in touch with ChessX and see if I can go up there to record an interview with them and then go, like, dig through their dice.
Yeah.
So, because I would really only go to shop, to be honest.
Oh, I love playing games. I love Gen Con. It's a lot of fun. So I love playing things that aren't out that you've never played before. And
Andrew, are you still on the call? Andrew wandered off. I actually need to take a step away for a minute, and Larry's not back. So
I can talk to myself.
You talk to yourself. I'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah. If you haven't been to Gen Con, I really highly suggest it. It's been quite a few years since I have been, but you'll meet all kinds of interesting painters. You'll get to play games before they even came out. And it's not just miniature games or war games or anything like that. If you're not into those things, they even have party games. Like I played a game called Telestrations when it was just being play tested, and that was really fun. It was a party game that was like Telephone Pictionary. A bunch of different Edison versus Tesla game. It's huge, and it's not just shopping. You can go and never enter the shopping hall if you don't want to, and just play test games. And there's tons of free games you can play too. And it's a camaraderie. There's lots of painting classes that you can take. If you have a favorite YouTuber, you can try to stalk your favorite YouTuber. I love doing that at Adepticon. Adepticon is another convention that you can go to that is wargaming, miniature gaming, and painting, heads in that direction. And all your favorite YouTubers. If you're a painter like me, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are. And all those YouTubers are there, and you can, go and try to find them and, talk to them. And I have like very, very bad luck when it comes to meeting my version of famous people. So I met Scott the Miniature Maniac while I was sitting there and like eating, and he's walking by and he's holding a plate of chicken tenders, go figure. And I'm like, oh my God, Scott the Miniature Maniac. And he's like, hi. He was super nice. And all I could think of to say, because I was like kind of starstruck in a way, was like, I watch you while eating dinner. I cannot even believe that that's the only thing I could come up with. And he's like, yeah, great. Thanks. I felt bad because he had no idea what to say, but I also had no idea what to say. And then he walked away with his lovely plate of chicken tenders. But I mean, I've had that happen so many times when I've like gone to get autographs from people, or I never know what to say when I meet famous people. But the very first time when I was really into miniature painting, I became friends with Yaji, who also used to be on this podcast, and stops in once in a while. And she was the sweetest person in the whole world. I'm an extrovert when I'm not in front of your face, like talking on here, but when I am in front of you, I don't know, I get really shy in front of people. And she took me around and introduced me to all of the good painters and all of the other people that teaches classes. And oh my gosh, it was just so cool. She was the nicest person. If you ever meet her, I guarantee you should say hi. Yeji, welcome back. Yeji.
I met Yeji a couple of times at ReaperCon. I've taken a couple classes from Yeji. I would want to go to Gen Con to see Sandra Garrity again, because love Sandra.
Is so kind. So I don't know if you heard. So the first time that I ever went to a convention, she went around and she introduced me to all of the teachers and the different painters, and she was just the nicest person. Because I'm a shy person when I'm in front of your face. I can talk on here, but in front of your face, I'm not great. But she made me feel like I was like a part of the group. And every time that I've gone, every year past, like people know me because of that interaction that they had with me and Yeji, and I will always be grateful for that. And she holds a special place in my heart.
I have the advantage with that of having gone to ReaperCon for so many years
Mm-hmm.
that I've gotten to know the painters and sculptors, a lot of them from that. Not the newer ones. There's a number of painters and sculptors now I simply don't know. And that's okay because new painters come on the scene and everything, and that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very, very happy for that.
If they don't, then the hobby disappears. So
exactly. I mean, it's nice seeing these new people getting recognized for their skills and everything that goes with it, and their talents. So that's great. But because I'm not a competition painter, that puts me in a different class when it comes to talking with a lot of these people, because we paint in different ways to different levels. I want to put my stuff on the table and make it fight other people's minis. So if I'm painting a dwarf mini that has a helmet on, I'll paint on the sclera, the white, but I won't paint pupils on it because this way the white shows better under the helmet. I'm looking at what it's going to look like when he's together with 12 of his fellas trying to chop your head off.
Yeah, there you go.
And if you look at it that way, by not putting a pupil on it, the eyes stand out more. Now, if I'm painting a PC for a game, then I'm going to do more with the eyes and put it together that way. So, I mean, I'm painting for tabletop. If it looks good at arm's length, I'm done.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has different goals.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. That's just the way that I paint. I will say, this is so funny. This is funny to me. Okay. I forgot that I don't compete. And I had gotten the Kev's, I just forgot Kev White's miniature company name. I'd gotten his pole dancer mini. What is Kev White's miniature company name? Oh my gosh, Larry would know in a heartbeat.
Painting. I don't know.
No, he would know in a heartbeat as to who I'm talking about. Anyway, I'd gotten this pole dancer mini, which is, I mean, she's got a wonderful pose. It's not Pegaso style. And if you've ever seen Pegaso minis, you understand what I mean.
Totally.
And I was painting her, and I had just gotten up from shadow. I was getting into the mid-tone skins on her because she's nothing but skin for the most part. And I was on my 25th layer, and I'm looking at it going, and I looked at it and said, what the hell am I doing? So I set it aside, and I pulled out a unit of dwarves and finished those that evening. So this poor mini's sitting there, not even half painted, but I was on my 25th layer of paint on her skin, and I was just bringing it to the midtones.
Wow.
And that's when I remembered why I don't compete. Because I'm looking at going, why am I spending this much time on a miniature that's not even going to be in my game? So
yeah, I mean, I have some that, I just enjoy painting in general, and so I have several that I paint just for the purpose of it getting put in my painting case for me to admire. But then I have several that I'm painting for use in D&D. So, I mean, and those aren't always the best quality, but they usually get the point across.
I have 3 or 4 minis that I love painting, and I have handfuls of them. So I just keep painting these guys because
So when you're painting a mini and it's going to be for a game that you're playing, do you paint it like, let's say you're painting, I don't know, a beholder. Let's just throw it out there because that's the best thing I can think of right now. Are you going to paint it the blue and the other colors that the beholders should be? Or do you paint it with your own, like, whatever you want to make it looking paint scheme?
I will. This is what I do with every mini is unless it's an army. Army doesn't really get much of a choice. Yeah. I hold it up and I ask it, what color do you want to be?
Does it answer?
Most of the times they do. Honest to goodness, next time you have a mini that you pick up and you're not sure what you want to do with it, ask it, what color do you want to be? And it'll probably tell you a color. So if it's going to be a beholder, I'll look at it and try and figure out what color I want it to be or what color it wants to be. And that's what color I'll paint it because that's just the way life goes. I don't care what it looks like in the artwork. It'll be whatever color I feel like painting it. Now, there's one mini, and it's a bald guy with a hat that looks like the guy who throws the hat from James Bond.
Oh.
And he's wearing a suit, And this absolute bastard of a mini will not tell me what color he wants to be painted. Ever. Oh. I have painted him 3 or 4 times, and he has yet to tell me what color he wants me to paint him. So he's gotten purple pinstripes. He's gotten all these different colors, and he will not tell me what color he wants me to paint him. I don't know why. It's just this one mini that does that to me.
Well, you didn't obviously ask nice enough. Or maybe you need to use more force. Maybe
I have tried everything, and this mini will not tell me what color it wants to be. And I think it's funny. I think it's truly, truly funny. If I'm going to paint him and it doesn't tell me what color, I will pick the color I feel like and go from there. But one of the other things I've learned is I can't pick miniature colors when I'm in a bad mood, when I'm not in a good mood.
Oh, I can't paint when I'm not in a good mood
I can paint when I'm not in a good mood if I know what the colors are going to be. But I can't pick the colors because I end up picking bad mood colors.
What's a bad mood color? This is so cute. Bad mood colors.
I typically like to make, I don't want to say vivid, but I like color. I have a lot of colors. I like to use colors
that are more contrast.
Not contrast as much as either they're bright or they're happy, or if I pick a mini that if I try to pick colors and I'm not in a good mood, I end up with a lot of dulled down and grayed down colors. Very dull down, very grayed down, not very contrasting. And then I just end up putting it in the paint stripper anyway, because I'm not happy with it. So I've learned over time, if I'm not in a good mood, don't pick colors for minis. Now, that can cheer me up because I'm doing something I like and everything else. And I love painting fabric. And so it really can improve my mood, but I just can't pick the colors.
I use Pinterest. So I have a file of all kinds of different artwork because I scroll through that and I just love looking at other people's artwork. Not necessarily miniatures, but just fine art, anything from modern art to, older stuff, any. I love art. So I have this whole file on there filled with art. And then when I'm going to paint a mini, I'll hold it in my hand and I'll flip through that file and I'll try to say what feeling do I want to portray based on, and then I try to copy paint schemes off of the different fine art pictures that I have in my folder. That's kind of how I go with it. Not all the time. Sometimes, like I said, if I'm painting for tabletop just to stick something on the table for D&D, then I just go with what I can quickly grab and make it that color so that way I can use it, because I'm usually painting a lot of things for that. But if it's something that I want to put in my display case, I look at fine art pictures and pick something with the color scheme with the feeling and emotion that I want to portray on the mini.
Unless it's a big bad evil guy or some other major character, I don't paint all the opponent's minis. What I have is a bunch of the pieces from one of the older versions of Stratego, and I made paper sleeves for them. So there's 10 of each color. So I have green, red, blue, yellow, black, white. I can have 6 different types of opponent on the table. They fit wonderfully standing up in the squares. And that way, if there's goblins are all the green ones. Okay, what are you attacking? Oh. I'm attacking green 3. Okay.
Oh, that's smart.
And they pack up really small. They can be anything I want them to be. And if they're tipped sideways, then they're just prone. If they're flat, then they're down.
Oh, that makes sense.
Kind of thing. As much as it looks nice to have all the minis out there, it takes time, and then it's hard for them to say which one they're doing and everything else. No one has ever complained about those, and I've got the PDF somewhere and I've put it out there for people to do the same thing. Now, I get my copy of the Stratego at a thrift store. You have to be careful because the newer copies of Stratego, they made the plastic pieces with crenellations across the center. The old ones are just smooth. But they work really well, especially if you're a traveling GM. Because they pack up really small, but you can have 6 different opponents, 6 different types of opponents, and you know exactly what they are because white is this and red is that.
Yeah, I love terrain and I love having a great display. So I have like an entire bag full of like 20 rats that I can use, and then I have an entire bag of tiny goblins. No, I have several different, I don't know. I have like I don't know. They use them for nails and screws and stuff like that, and they're little drawers. And so in
Uh-huh.
each drawer I have a different type of mob that if I need it, I try to have 20 of them. I don't normally need 20 of them, but I usually try to have 20 of them. But in the case that I'm fighting something small and maybe I don't have that exact many, I can always use rats. Or if I'm fighting something medium, I can always pull up my box of little ghosts that I have. But I have, and then what I do so you can tell them apart is I don't paint the base. The base I paint with a color. So I'll do of all of them, each base is a different color, so you can tell the different rats apart to know which rat it is that you're killing. But I usually have I like I said, I love terrain and I love maps and I usually will have a map on the board and it's very visual when I play, but it's not always that way. But
See,
usually,
I love all that stuff too, but until I moved here,
mm-hmm.
I didn't have room to host, much less have all this terrain. Now, I do have. Oh, have you heard about my gaming table?
I have not.
I've been looking for a gaming table. Facebook Marketplace is a wonderful thing. And I wanted a classic, extensible dining room table kind of thing. Or a pair of, turns out the break room tables are 4x4, so I could have had 4x8 table if I had two of them. What I found was this wonderful, not just ones with the leaves that go in them, but actually also drop leaves on the ends.
Oh, nice.
Well, when we got it here, and it has a fifth leg in the middle to support the weight.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost me $15 and somebody to go get it.
That.
Well, I got it home and I started looking at it. I think the table's from about 1850.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's not in great shape. I'm not going to worry about refinishing it because, I could refinish some of the top surfaces, but it's always going to be covered. But when it folds down completely, it's maybe 2 feet wide or 2 feet long because it's really only the width of what the two leaves would be. But you can open it out to be over 7 feet.
That's nice.
So that's going to be a fantastic gaming table.
Yeah.
Which leads us into one of our kick-ass Kickstarters.
Oh.
And what this is, I don't know if you remember seeing you can buy these pieces where they're essentially mini tables that stand on yours so that when you are like playing a board game, you can put the board game on it and then...
Like a tray?
It's kind of like a tray, but it's just a little table that sits on it. And this way you can have the game up there, but then you have room underneath it for dice and cards and books.
Oh, so it elevates it above the table a little bit.
It elevates it. Yeah, it makes you essentially a second layer of table.
Got it.
Well, cool. This one ended, so we really can't use it as a kick-ass Kickstarter. It's called Stage Top, the 3D printed gaming table. And it's the same thing, except it's modular. You print what you want. It's got different themes to it. You can have built-in dice rollers that are there that roll underneath the table.
Wow.
And it's got it where you can put LEDs around the inside of it, so LEDs shine on the table, kind of thing. And because of that's going to be fantastic for a gaming table, because this way people have room for their books and everything.
Oh, for sure.
And I ended up, when I was at the game store today, I bought the smaller ChessX mat that'll fit right inside of it when it's up there, because I have the big battle mat.
The tan one?
Yeah, and this is a tan one still, but it's the smaller version that'll fit in here.
Oh, cool.
And it wasn't a very expensive pledge. It was $48 for personal use for everything. And then we hit the stretch goals for the Stronghold theme. And then there's component tiles and dice towers. There's stackable legs. There's mixed card tray tiles. Now there's cobblestone. There's different legs. There's corner compartments. There's all kinds of things I think we unlocked all the stretch goals. And people are making their own because they put the blanks out there for hexes on there and everything else. But it's wonderful because this way on this big table, I don't have to worry about side tables for people to hold their stuff.
That is really smart.
And then
we actually have a problem with that because Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday when we play our little one shot, the map that I have, we're using, I don't know if you ever heard of they're like the giant dungeon mats. They're like books, and then they have two.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, but it's really big. So I'm talking like when you put them both down, clearly I'd say 3 feet. And a 3 feet map is not going to fit on my normal gaming table. My gaming table's long. It'll fit 12 people comfortably, but it's not wide. And
okay.
Yeah, so it's going to have to be upstairs.
That's why I wanted a dining room table, because they are wider.
Yeah.
Now,
our dining room table upstairs is bigger and it will fit them, but it's just not in my gaming room. We like to keep gaming in the gaming room because all of the terrain's in there, all my minis is in there, and it has the environment. Like when we're playing upstairs in the kitchen, it's a completely different vibe than when we're playing downstairs in our gaming room.
Right.
Just more focused and more into it, but that map is not going to fit on that table, so everybody's going to have to come upstairs. But if we had that item like you're talking about that raised it up off the table, that item would actually make it so we could have played in the basement.
Well, I looked at this and I immediately backed it, to be perfectly honest.
That's smart.
It's like, this is wonderful. And it's also designed to break down. They have the holders for it and fit into one of the IKEA cubbies. I forget, it's like Kallax or something like that, the one that's the cubes.
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
It fits into one of the fabric drawers.
Does it fold up, or what is?
Well, no, it comes apart, so your legs stick on here, and it's got twist locks that hold the tiles together underneath. Frame locks, they want to call them. Now, here's the downside of it: a standard table, a stage top standard, not the light, the standard quality, a 24-inch by 36-inch table is going to take 459 hours to print and 5.5 rolls of filament.
Oh my gosh! Wow, you would have
some patience.
Yeah, you would have to have a GoPro set up to watch your printing, or a webcam or something to keep an eye on that.
Not me. I have the Prusa printers. So if I've got something that's going for 78 hours or something like that, I just check in on it once a day.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest.
I have that problem when I'm printing. I have to keep looking at it every once in a while. So I go in there, I'm like, okay, we're still good. Okay, we're still good. I think it's just leftover aggravation from other times when you've got, did this big print, and at the very end, you're missing some kind of, there's an island or something that you missed and didn't realize was there. And
yeah, but this is, like I say, it takes 5.5 rolls to print in standard quality. And that's
5.5 rolls. Wow.
Yeah.
So how much is that? So roll of filament's about like $20, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So 20, 40, 60, 80. So it's about $100 table.
Which is not a bad deal compared to what they cost for the ones that are pre-made.
Yeah.
Now, the other one that's still going that I'm backing is called Painter's Fortress. And you've seen the back to basics pieces for your table would have drawers and paint holders.
Oh, sure. The little PLA, or not PLA, I'm sorry.
The laser.
The wood.
Yeah, the wood ones. This is one that you print.
Oh.
And it has different themes you can do it. They have different trays for different size bottles, for different brands. And I mean, you hammer it together. That's how strong it's supposed to be. And the whole thing is cored off of a 20 by 20 by a 200 by 200 by 200 cube. And then they have half wides that are 200 by 100, but they have different drawers. They have shelf inserts. They have the 30-degree corners, so you can do the turnaround. Mm-hmm. And they've got brush holders and everything. They have the stepped racks for paint. I don't know how much of this I'm going to print for myself. I don't know that I'm going to print and paint the themed pieces for the edges and that. But for $24 for the early pledge, right now the regular pledge is $25. You know?
Yeah.
I saved $1.
Hey, $1's a dollar.
$1, man.
Now, how much does it say? How much filament that's going to take?
It all depends on what you're making. That's the problem. They don't look like they're going to take a lot because most of them are just flat pieces. they'll have fill to them, but they don't look like they're gonna. Now the case itself is kind of like a milk crate, so it's a lot of open space. It's not solid, which gives it some flex.
I mean, it'd have to have some fill if it's gonna be able to hold up, all
Yeah,
those
I mean
bottles.
it's dense, but it's got it's a grid. It's a mesh more than it's a solid, and it's a wonderful thing because you got a 3D printer, make it. I know there's tons of these out on Thingiverse and everything else.
Oh, sure.
But this one looks really nice, and I like supporting the companies that do this.
And sometimes the ones that you pay for are just a little better quality. You won't have to. I mean, I always, when I'm printing, I go line by line to make sure everything is good before I print it. And I don't know that you will have to be that meticulous with one that you're paying for. They're usually right out of the. I mean, it's not a box, but right out of the proverbial box, they're usually ready to print.
If I'm ever dicey about a 3D print, I just put it into Microsoft's 3D Builder and let it repair it. Or I put it through NetFab and have it repair it. But this one, like I say, I don't know. A bunch of us are hammering on them to make 100 millimeter deep ones, shallow ones essentially, because we don't have the work area we want to use up for that extra 100 millimeters. That's a decent amount of space. So if you've got a desk, I'm going to be using like a computer desk. That's a lot of space to eat up.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're saying, well, we didn't think we tried it and it just didn't hold enough. And it's like, okay, guys, we're the people that are buying your product.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are telling you we want this. So you telling us that you don't think it's going to hold enough doesn't quite match the expectation of we want it.
Yeah.
It's not that you're saying that it's not strong enough. You're just saying you don't want to do it, kind of thing. You didn't see the value of it. I don't know if you've been around for my story engine discussion, the cards that help you with story prompts.
Yeah, I've never really understood it, but that's okay.
Well, I just got the newest one, which is their deck of worlds, which lets you build settings too, and it's even more complicated. But what happened with this one was the designer had this really cool box that opened up and folded out so you had a work surface and everything else. And we asked, is that going to hold all the cards and expansions when they're sleeved?
Jeez.
And his answer was, no, it's not going to. It won't hold sleeved cards, but it's so cool because it is this, that, and the other. We say, oh, yeah, that is really cool. Can we get one that holds all the cards that are sleeved?
Yeah.
Well, it does this, and it's really cool, and I really like this, and it's got magnets. It's like, can we have boxes? I mean, we just kept hammering on this poor guy. We ended up getting boxes that'll hold all the cards sleeved.
Well, that's what you need. I mean, most people sleeve. I mean, that's what they do.
He not only that, he's got sleeves that he had made that are a little bit heavier duty. Mm-hmm. They're standard size. You can buy these sleeves from other companies too. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're just square cards. They're like
normal playing cards.
Yeah. They're 50 by 50 squares.
Oh, okay.
So you could get the cards, you can get the sleeves, but he had sleeves that are made that are heavier duty. But he finally gave up on his dream design of a box into the one that all the people buying it wanted as a functional design. So I kind of feel bad for him because he really did have this cool idea, but it wasn't feasible in the long term because of how people wanted to use the product.
Wow.
So I got the box for it, which has the play mats and the other one. So I'm going to have to be sleeving like 500 and some cards.
That's something that you do while watching a show.
It gets even worse because cards...
You can always bribe your friend who's used to sleeving a bunch of cards at a time to do it for you, especially one that has free time in the truck and just...
There you go. Well, this is where it gets even worse. I edge my cards, and these are color-coded cards.
What do you mean you edge your cards? What does that mean?
So, okay.
What the hell do you mean?
Sorry, this comes from cards. You've seen the cards that come in games that are black cards or dark cards, but they have that white edge to them from their cardstock.
Okay.
I sit there with a Sharpie and I go around and very, very carefully color all around the edge of the card so it's dark.
You ink your cards, which actually is kind of a no in the card gaming sphere.
But for
why do you do that?
Because it looks so much better. But these other ones, the Deck of Worlds and the Story Engine deck, are color-coded cards. So green are these types of cards and that. So I pulled out my colored Sharpies. And I sat there, and I would sit there and very carefully along all four edges and the rounded corners.
You still want to volunteer there, Larry?
She can ink the damn things if she wants that done. I'll shove them in their little packet, but I ain't sitting there.
Here's where it gets you. Okay, here's where you really show my true colors, as it were. After I finish inking a deck of them, you know how you tap them on the table and straighten them up, and then I look at them, and then I take the marker, and any place I can still see white, I start touching up.
You know what you should do is because we are painters and we have this wonderful stuff called FW inks, is what you do is you get some clamps, you clamp the four corners so they're nice and tight. Then you take your airbrush, you load it full of black ink, and you just go and make them look really nice. And then, hey, look, they're edged.
The inks are going to be a little too thin and cause the cardstock to expand.
No, not if you don't do it heavy.
The Sharpies are an alcohol-based ink.
Okay, then buy alcohol-based ink. You can buy that.
But how does that help me when I'm sitting there ever so happily working on edge by edge of these cards?
More gaming and less coloring the cards colors.
But when you
I
sit
can't
down
say
and you
much.
look
I
at
have some weird-ass OCD stuff myself, so...
But when you pull out when I pull out one of these games, you don't even notice, unless you know what you're looking for, that it's been done. Just that it looks really good. Something looks different than the standard board game, and you don't really know what it is, but it just makes it look really, really nice.
You're gonna give Larry a heart attack because you're gonna be sitting there coloring all your magic cards, and he's just gonna die, like right there. He's just gonna keel over.
There's only the difference is those are collectible card games and not to be touched.
He's just gonna just die right there. That'll be the last three.
The card games that go with tiny epic galaxies that are black on both sides with a white core, those look so much better when they have a black edge.
I believe.
Now, I don't say that everybody should do this.
Your patience and attention to detail, but I will not be doing
it. And not everybody should. Not everybody wants to. Not everybody has the patience. Not everybody cares.
That's okay.
I prefer to do this for my games.
How many games have you done that with?
I'm not going to say.
Wow.
Because if I have it, it gets edged.
So either I'm going to say that mini or that's it. I don't know.
I'm going to go with the first one.
Oh, that mini. Oh, man.
I have all the expansions for Firefly.
Oh, wow.
So what exactly have y'all been talking about since I have been gone?
Well, let's see now. We went through why Marie can't go to Gen Con, and we talked about the ways that we paint from
dark up
light,
or light up or
light to dark.
What order we paint face?
Yeah, how we paint faces, the order of things we paint in.
I talked about Yeji.
She talked about Yeji and how Yeji introduced her to everybody.
Yes.
We talked about the 2 Kickstarters, one of which is closed. The tabletop one, that one is closed. So that's a late pledge situation. And then I was talking about the Painter's Fortress, which has all the drawers and paint drawers and everything.
Nice.
And we talked about tables.
And we talked about our gaming table.
We went over a lot of things. You missed out.
We did.
Oh, you missed out.
Sorry, my friend came over. He was playing at Star City Games. It's a Magic the Gathering convention at Indy, and he borrowed one of my Legacy decks, and he was returning the Legacy deck and wanting to borrow one of my Modern decks. So we were swapping out stuff.
Well, it's nice that you were able to sit and spend some time with your friend.
Yeah, other than sitting down and spending time with my other friends who were part of the podcast, I was like, hey... I told him, he's like, are you around? Are you still home? And I was like, yeah, but I'm recording a podcast. And all of a sudden, my daughter-in-law knocks on the door and she's like, there's some guy here wanting to talk about magic. So I was like,
if he interrupts our podcast again, that she's going to go and take all of his cards and paint all the edges black.
No. No, I will say, whenever I crack a board game, I look to see if I have to edge the cards.
I'm just picking on you. I just think it's so funny.
All right, so
I know.
All right, now let's get into a couple news items that we did that have popped up. So after the 1.1 OGL fiasco, they tried 1.2. That went for like 3 days, and then they threw in the towel, and they're like, "Yeah, we're done." There's going to be no change to the OGL, and they're putting which is the open gaming license, and they're putting their standard reference document, which is the SRD, into Creative Commons for products up to 5th edition, which means 3, 4, 5, AD&D.
Now, only 5 has been put into Creative Commons right now, and they did do an update on it, I think. They've said that they're going to do 3, 5, and 4. I don't know that they're going to do original AD&D or 2E. I haven't been following along since they threw in the towel.
I'm honestly not sure if they even own those. Truth be told,
they may not even have really SRD level stuff to put in there.
But so we talked about this last couple episodes to death. The real question that we're going to wait and see is how long is it going to take D&D and Beyond to recover, and if it's going to recover, because speculation and rumor has it that they lost 60,000 subscribers, and right now the big 3 that are behind the Orc, Paizo, Green Ronin, and Cobalt Press are riding that wave. And like from what I'm hearing, Paizo sold out everywhere, especially the starter set is sold out everywhere. You can't find it.
There's a humble bundle with Pathfinder right now.
Yeah, it's a big surprise. But yeah, so they're really riding this wave, and awesome, because we need competition.
Now, my last thoughts on the SRD, and they're being echoed around a little bit more, is they caved too quick and put too much in there, because all the IP is in there. Ithalids are in there now. All their like 4 monsters that were never outside of their IP, they put in the SRD.
Which
even Strahd is in there.
Okay, and here's one thing, and this is something we should probably talk about later, because it could be its own episode. There are loopholes to Creative Commons, because it's all cool. You can use their stuff because it's in Creative Commons, but as soon as you use one of their things in Creative Commons, it makes your stuff Creative Commons as well. Just like we use stuff that's Creative Commons in this podcast, because why not? So, technically someone could take it and cut the episodes down to like little news chunks and everything, and they could republish it, and there's nothing we could do about it.
Well, that wasn't the thing. That's one of the small things, and that led into the larger thing is they gave in too fast, which makes us wonder if future editions aren't going to be compatible with 5e and below.
And I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Because if they did that, then this good faith effort doesn't cost them anything, because their new stuff is protected. If that makes any sense.
It does. But that leads us into our next topic. I said we weren't going to. Let's not. Blah blah. Leads us into our next topic, that Hasbro has had a third. Wow, I can't speak. Hasbro had a absolutely horrible third quarter, even though WotC had amazing performance, and they are currently firing 15% or approximately 1,000 employees.
Now, this is a question that I've asked you before, Larry, and I kind of want a clarification. And for all of our listening public, what does it mean when we say Hasbro versus what does it mean when we say WotC? Because we always just kind of conflate the two.
And for those that don't know, WotC's Wizards of the Coast. Okay, so Hasbro.
I didn't know that.
Let's go to. You didn't know that WotC was Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah, I never heard that. I never heard that saying like that before.
WotC? Really? We've been calling him that since the 90s.
Yeah, I always thought it was something completely. I didn't know that they were the same thing.
Yeah, WotC's Wizards of the Coast.
You learned a thing.
So WotC, or Wizards of the Coast, is a company that is exclusively games. Well, no, not exclusively. Their primary focus is on games. They have Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering being the 2 primary games they produce. They have a few other small ones, but nothing really to write home about. Hasbro is a toy company that purchased Wizards of the Coast back in the 90s. And Hasbro produces a lot of miniatures, or not miniatures, like toys, like actual toy figurines, like He-Man, Transformers. That's a big one of My Little Pony, Hasbro owns that type of stuff. They have a whole bunch of different IPs and licenses, but they're a toy company. They produce a lot of board games. They actually went ahead and bought Avalon Hill, I believe, at one point to produce their board games. But I think that Avalon Hill only produces their nerdy board games, and their typical board games are produced by Hasbro themselves. So there's a division. I'm not 100% sure, because I had this one, if it scrolled down, under future topic ideas of who is Hasbro versus WotC, because I haven't researched it that much. But in a nutshell, Hasbro is the parent company that owns several companies underneath it. And under the Hasbro brand by itself, you've got Transformers, My Little Pony, and then they own sub companies such as Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill, and all of that. Now, in the last 2 years, there's been a major push from some investors and some stockholders that Wizards of the Coast should be spun off to be its own company again, because it produces... So Hasbro makes, like, between everything, approximately $6 billion a year, I believe. But
Wizards... Is that a lot in the grand scheme of things?
I mean, it's $6 billion. So, yeah, I mean, they're a big company. But Wizards of the Coast produces at least a quarter of that, maybe even more. Like, Wizards makes a lot of money, and a lot of people are thinking, myself included, that Hasbro is mismanaging Wizards of the Coast. They're trying to do some stuff that they really shouldn't with Magic, and that what they really shouldn't with D&D, as we've seen with D&D and Beyond. That was Hasbro's brain scheme of trying to monetize D&D. Like, if half the rumors I've heard were true, they wanted everybody paying $30 a month to use D&D Beyond. It was just like, there's a guy, he goes by D&D Shorts on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I watch those.
From all I have seen and all the different people talking, his scuttlebutt is the best scuttlebutt. Like his... Yep. Like, I can't say that everything that's on his stuff is 100% true, but I can definitely say that I don't think a lot of it's false either. So D&D Shorts, if you really want to see what happened with the entire OGL thing and a lot of the stuff that's been going on, go watch that. But a quote that ended up coming out: "The elimination of these positions will impact many loyal Hasbro employees," said Hasbro CEO Chris Cox in a news release. "However, the changes are necessary to return our business to a competitive industry-leading position. First off, I have never met a person that had a more appropriate name as Dr. Cox. And two, he is so full of shit. Like, yeah, they didn't have an amazing third quarter, but I want to say they were down like 3%. It wasn't even a huge amount. And they're like, oh, we're going to fire 1,000 people. Piss poor planning, piss poor management. We saw it with what they did with Magic last year. We've seen it with what they tried to do with D&D this year. Hasbro is mismanaging Wizards, and honestly, it needs to change. I hope. When did
Hasbro's take over, or when did they come? When did they become in charge?
90s.
In the 90s. Oh, so it's not new.
No.
Okay.
Okay, so Wizards owned D&D before Hasbro bought them. But Hasbro, was it 99? When did Hasbro buy WotC?
I mean, did we want to
99.
Go into this more detail after you've had a chance to research, now that you've been able to at least, or is it now our topic?
No, it's we don't have enough time. So, but that's what we'll talk about. We'll probably go more in depth because this is something that could literally be 2 hours of me ranting once I get my ducks in a row and get everything.
I love when you rant.
A lot of people do. I cut my ranting back, and people are like, "Why are you ranting anymore?" It's like, well, fuck it, I guess I will. Damn it. Okay, you want to rant?
We like it when you're angry, Larry.
Okay, so this one is just what it is. I will talk about Wizards versus Hasbro later, and you'll get a good rant out of this. Now, this will be a good rant, and actually, you can possibly get behind it, and I know your husband can. So, Catalyst Games, the makers of BattleTech, announced 4 new Mercenary box sets. Yay! I love Mercenaries. I played Mercenaries in the 90s with Mech Warrior and Mech Commander. Whenever I was playing League, I was part of a Mercenary clan. I love the Mercenaries. So happy. So they're all exclusive. Okay, so that means not as easy to pick up, but whatever, you know. What are they going to be? Like Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Walgreens, you know, what are they going to be exclusive to? Well, one of them is Barnes & Noble. Awesome. So I went to barnesandnobles.com. I put in my pre-order for 2 of the box set because Jeremy, a friend of ours local, he also plays, and he wanted that box set too, which then qualified me for free shipping. So it was just like I walked into the store. Awesome. So I picked that up. So that leaves 3 of the new Mercenary box set. They are exclusive to distributors, which is probably the dumbest thing that I have ever heard of a company doing. I have seen companies be exclusive to stores. I've seen companies be exclusive to entities. I've seen them be exclusive to conventions. Distributors. Okay, so here's the thing. People are like, well, what's the problem with that? Okay, so there's 3 of them, and they're exclusive 1 box to each one of these people. One of them's Alliance, one's ACD, or is it ADC? I think it's ACD. And the other one is Peachtree. And they each get 1 of the Mercenary boxes. Well, okay, so that's cool. What's the problem with that? The problem is, and why this is the dumbest marketing thing ever, is that 1, most stores don't have an account with all 3, which means they can't order the one that they're missing. So, yeah, it's like, okay, so I have to now call. And second, it's a weird ass question when I have to call my local gaming shop and go, hey, what distributors do you have? who do you run? You know, I don't mind asking like my real good friend who owns a game shop, hey, what distributors do you use? Because they get it. But
so
like,
I'm going to put Eric on the spot. Were you able to find them? Were you able to find the ones from the distributors?
I had to order. The other there's 4. 2 are released, and I don't know about the other 2 yet.
So he got 2 that are released, and he doesn't know about the other ones yet, but he was able to get 2 of them.
My Barnes & Noble is currently released. I need to talk to Atomic Games, Slade there, and see who's... I'm pretty sure he has alliances, so I'll at least be able to get that box set. And he may have ACD. Peachtree is not the most common one up here. So now I have to go call all of the indie shops and be like, hey, what distributor do you have? Do you have this box set? And it's just an all-around a piss-poor plan. What they could have done is made a distributor exclusive set of these things. So all 3 of the box sets were available to alliances, to ACD, to Peachtree. And that means as long as my store had one of those 3, which more than likely they do, I can get all 3. Now I'm playing the most annoying game of hide and go seek to try to find the rest of these. And I already know that I'm going to end up having to probably go either wait the 6 months or go on eBay and play, and paying a small markup or a large markup to get the damn thing.
It's probably going to be a large markup because everybody's trying to find them.
Right. And the problem is I can't call Peachtree and be like, hey, I want to order 2 box sets of, whatever one that you have that's exclusive, like they did with the Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble sells directly to people like me. Distributors do not. They only sell to stores. Right. So it's a really, I get what they're trying to do. And, that's awesome. It was just really badly executed and really badly done. And it's really frustrating. And I'm not the only one. Like, you go to the post where they announced this and like, all the comments are like, this is dumb. This is dumb. This is a bad idea. This is dumb. Why did you do this? Etc. And it just goes on and on. And I'm annoyed. I'll be able to get them because luckily they don't have long term. It's like 6 months. I think they have 6 months exclusivity in place with most of their stuff. And then you'll be able to order directly from Catalyst, or you'll be able to order from wherever.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, like the old box set that was exclusive to Barnes & Noble, which was the Wolf's Dragoon, is actually available on the Catalyst game website now. So you can just go there. That's where I got mine. I ordered my Wolf's Dragoon straight from Catalyst, and then I ordered the whatever horse, whatever it is, off of Barnes & Noble. I just got my order. I just got my notification that they shipped yesterday, and they should be here on the 9th. So, yay! You know, that's cool. But it's frustrating. It's just so frustrating.
It was a case. I honestly can't see why there's a benefit to it for them or their or the retail stores.
I have no idea. Like, literally, I have zero idea. Like, I don't know what was running through their heads when they made this decision. It seemed really impulsive and kind of, it seems dumb. It really does. I can't think of a single reason why a distributor like Barnes & Noble, I get it. They want to get their miniatures on the shelves selling, and they're like, hey, we'll give you these box set. Every 6 months, we'll give you an exclusive box set to put on your stores for 6 months. So you basically always have something that's exclusive sitting on your shelf. Totally get it. That I'm cool with. That I understand it. I'm totally cool with it. It's a little annoying if I don't have a B&N local, but I can just log on to their website and I can order it. The problem, like I said, with the entire distributor exclusivity is I can't order them. I am literally, they have neutered me. I have to go and call these random stores who don't know who the fuck I am and be like, hey, do you have Peachtree Distributing? Because I don't
know why they don't have a list. They should have a list of these are the stores that you can buy these from.
They should honestly have just not done this, because here's another problem. Yeah. Here's another problem. So let's say I call Game Time in Noblesville and I'm like, hey, do you have Peachtree? And they're like, yeah, we have Peachtree. Hey, can you order this random obscure fucking box set for me and have it and get it in? No, because we don't feel like dealing with that product. Okay, well, I just struck out there. Or, oh yeah, we do. We're lucky. We are in a very rich area when it comes to game shops. We have probably 10 within 30 minutes of here. And we have a whopping of that 10, I think we have one that sells BattleTech. So it's not like
that's normal.
Right. And I'm even part of the BattleTech Indianapolis thing. So the north side Indy, which is the closest to me, if they happen to have it, it's a 45-minute drive. I'm going to drive 45 minutes at $3.17 a gallon down there just to pick up this fucking box set because it's an exclusive to a damn distributor. The dumbest shit ever. That is the dumbest. I would tell the CEO of Catalyst to his face that was fucking stupid. That was absolutely...
They must have I would love to know what their reasoning is. Maybe they had some kind of deal where they had to do that or something. I don't know.
Distributors buy your shit and sell them to other people. There's zero reason to give it.
The first thing that came to mind when I heard about that is the kind of idea that comes up after someone took a particularly large bong rip.
Something like something happened, or it's dumb. Like I would not be. Yeah. I would tell the CEO of Catalyst that was absolutely stupid, and all he did was alienate his player base and made buying the miniatures, us, the people who actually want the damn things, 10 times more difficult when it did not need to be. Yeah. So, in other news,
true that.
In other news, Magic did not release a secret lair for almost a whole month. Yes, it sounds snarky, but that is literally the first time that we have not had a secret lair for any amount of time in well over a year. And then they announced the Winter Super Drop, which launched on the 30th of January. It's going on right now, and it's going on for 55 days, which leads me to believe that they're not going to launch any major kicks or any major secret lairs for those 55 days, which is a lot different than last year when they released 73 secret lairs. So... And even in this super drop, there's only, I want to say 7 secret lairs, which is actually down from the last times too. So, yay! Maybe we're going to see. Maybe they are cutting back a little bit on the product. I know Wizards was kind of hemming and hawing about, hey, yeah, we don't see we're going to slow this down. Maybe we actually had enough backlash, and with the entire D&D thing, they're like, maybe we shouldn't fuck with these people. Maybe they're actually serious for once. Clue. Yes, we are. We are very serious. Please stop ramming shit down our throat. I don't care how big of a cock you think you are, Chris. Stop. But anyways, last news item. You had something, Marie. Rock with it.
I do?
Yes.
Oh, Grey Gnome Games is essentially one-man shop who makes absolutely wonderful solo games. He's expanded a couple of those out into multiplayer games, but if you've ever heard of the game Iron Helm or its little baby brother Tin Helm. There's one called Desolate. Solo games are pretty huge, by the way, at this time.
I thought they were kind of small. Don't they usually fit in a tin?
A lot of his fit in a tin, but Iron Helm is actually about this, almost the size of a Magic card box.
Oh, wow, that is big.
That is big.
That's
I mean, that one's a Well, all of a sudden on his page, his Facebook page, he said, "I'm shutting it down, and I've done. There wasn't really much of a reason. He's just saying, effective immediately, I'm shut down." And he pulled all his stuff off the crafter.
Wow.
And there was no reason. And 4 days earlier, he was getting input on another game. He was asking for colors because it's this wonderful retro style artwork and everything. And so all of a sudden, it was like, Grey Gnome Games is no longer a viable business, and pulled everything. There was a lot of outpour on that one on several other pages where it got copied across. Everyone was hoping the guy was okay. That was the main theme of it is this guy okay? Is everything okay? And he came back a day or so later, thanked everyone for the outpouring of support, said he was in a bad mental space when he did that, and put his stuff back up on the Game Crafter so people can get it, and just said he's going to reassess where he is and what's going on. And no one's asking him for new games. We just want to make sure he was okay, really. And now his games are available again. So for like one night, I had a really valuable game collection. And it was only for one night. But that's okay. I'd much rather have him as a going concern and people still being able to buy his games. But it was all of a sudden, it was just this weird out of nowhere, I'm closing my company. And we were wondering, did he get bought out by somebody? What happened here? Is he changing the name? But he came back and said that it's still a going concern. He's going to take what time he needs. His stuff got loaded back up. Everything's fine. It was just kind of a real big shock to those of us who follow him as a designer and play his games. I love Desolate. I swear I'm not playing it right because I win too much, to be perfectly honest. And if you like solo gaming or just want a small game, because a lot of them do fit in a mint tin, Grey Gnome Games is the way to go. I had just gotten his expansion for one of his I got Gates, which is the expansion. So things were moving along, and all of a sudden, it was like, I'm done. And the community just freaked out at the thought that something happened to this guy. So it all ended well. Like I said, the games are back up. He's communicating. He's very happy that people are concerned about him and not just the fact that the game company's gone. So that's me plugging it, saying please. And they're all on P&P Arcade as well if you want to do print and play. Almost all of them are. But definitely if you want to look at some interesting games, some solo play games, go look for him on the Game Crafter because that's where he sells from. And like I said, I swear I'm playing Desolate wrong because I win too much. There's some rule that I'm misinterpreting because there's no way I should win that many times.
Ask him.
So that is my bit of news.
And I'm a goofball that can't count. We're at episode 130. My bad. I don't know where I was counting that I only had, whatever. We're at 130, not 128.
I'm just really glad I was able to give a good resolution to that situation for Grey Gnome Games and not leave people hanging.
Yeah, that's really cool. Last little bit of news that I have. Beetle and Grimm, makers of very expensive but very cool Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering accessories, has a Phyrexian package that's coming out later this month. It has a price point of $135, and it's going to be limited to 7,000 units, which means it'll probably sell out within the first hour and a half, maybe less. With it, you get a single card. You get a package sleeves, 130 of them, which is kind of an odd number. You get a really cool dice, a really cool set of dice, and then you get a pretty cool deck box. Personally, I'm kind of on the fence of whether or not I want to get it. I bought a lot of Beetle and Grimm stuff because, of course, I did. And they do make some pretty nice stuff, but it's really, a lot of it's just show off chintzy type stuff. Obviously, it fits me perfect. And yeah, I really don't know if I want to get this or not. kind of, if it had more than a single card that you get, I probably like, oh, okay, cool. But the bad thing is the one card that you get is banned in like everything except for Commander. It's banned in Modern, it's banned in Legacy, it's restricted in Vintage, which I don't play, and you can run it in Commander. So it's like, well, the one copy of that card I'll get will last me. But the sleeves are absolutely gorgeous. That's, oddly enough, the $135 price point, the sleeves are the biggest selling point. It's like, oh, I really kind of want them. They're no, they're not a Traxa, they're Elish Norn, and they're just really awesome looking sleeves. So I was like, I kind of want them, but I don't want to pay $135 just to get the damn sleeves.
That's a lot for that.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, so I'm trying to talk to my friends. One of my friends, I love the dice, and another one's like, the card would be cool. And I'm like, hey, how about we split this? I'll put 40 down on the sleeves, and y'all can split the rest of it. 40 is still expensive for sleeves, but whatever.
Yeah. Any more enamel pins coming in, Larry, or are you set for now?
Oh, so yeah. So for those who don't know, I collect enamel and other lapel pins. They're not all enamel. Some of them are like solid brass. Most of them are enamel. And I ended up picking a limited edition Ninja Turtle one that was numbered out of 20 or out of 200. And then I lucked into the pop pins, the new ones, like the ones that are the damn size of the pops themselves. So there's a line of Ninja Turtle ones. And I was like, man, I want them, but I don't want to pay $15 a piece for them. That's about the going price. I was looking around and I found a seller selling them for $8.60 a piece. So my pin board now has all of those to include the Super Shredder, because these are based off of Secrets of the Ooze Ninja Turtles. So I've got those. They're massive. So I bought these hexagons, and they're like 8-inch hexagons, and they're made out of felt, and they have like a kind of a hard material underneath them. And then they have the double-sided 3M glue, so you can stick them up on your wall. So I bought a package of those, and I use those to put my pins up so I don't leave holes in the wall. And they're colored, so they kind of have like a neat pattern. And man, do they eat up a lot of real estate. Holy crap, do they eat up a lot of real estate. Then I ended up getting a couple Pinfinity pins for Howling Mine and Urza's Bauble. And then it's really kind of screwed up, because I was talking to Marie about it, and I was like, yeah, they ate up just like way too much real estate, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera. And I think she asked, like, is there any others that you would get of that size? And I was like, maybe Big Hero 6, because I love Big Hero 6. And I was like, maybe Big Hero 6. That would be the only other one. So I'm sitting here looking around. I was like, I found the pig fin ones, which are fun. And, it's potential I might end up picking those up, because they're not as big. They're bigger, but they're not massive like these things are. And I will be damned if I did not find a convention exclusive of the pop pins, Baymax and Baymax in Armor 2-pack. And I'm like, ugh. And I was looking around. I was like, they're like $60, $70. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And then I found one retailer that was selling them for $40.
And my question was, is that a good price?
Oh, it's a great price, because everything else is selling for like $60, $80, $90. So
this is me encouraging Larry to spend money.
Yes, which is really screwed up, because I owe her money, and then she keeps encouraging me to spend money, and it's just like, I think secretly she just wants me to stay in debt to her for the rest of my life. It's called servitude. She wants a minion in the afterlife. I have this weird feeling about that.
Hey, you were the one that laughed at me for how much I spent at Jungle Gyms.
So we go to Jungle Gyms, like quite literally, it's a 2-hour drive from where she lives. Actually, a little bit longer, because she went to Dayton. She didn't even take the most direct route. So it's an hour and a half to Dayton, and then it's 45 minutes from where
I had to go pick up some freight in Dayton.
Yeah, I am freight. So we ended up she ended up picking me up, and it's 45 minutes from my work to Jungle Gyms. So we drive all the way down there, and I drop like $60 because I had to pick up some dog toys and all that. And she spends $25. She spent more in gas driving to Jungle Gyms and back from Jungle Gyms than she did at Jungle Gyms. I'm like, serious.
Well, then I can see why you would think that you were unsure if she liked it then, if she only spent $25.
No. You just don't know Marie. That's actually...
I had a very specific list of things that I was looking for that I can't get locally.
And Christ, she did. And she's sitting there, I was like, I want this item. And I'm like, what country is that from? I don't know. So here I am Googling. I'm like, what
Rice
country
noodles can be
is...
from like 4 different countries.
Oh, rice noodles are like a bunch of countries.
Yeah,
I found some
all
really good ones that were
Asian.
2 for $3.
Every
Ugh.
Asian country. Oh, yeah. I picked up one more pack of each for those, like you requested.
Thank you.
So,
Heaven forbid we have rice noodles in Indiana.
right. No, it's really cool. We discussed it for 15 minutes earlier, so I think everyone knows our thoughts on that. But it was just really funny that she literally spent more in gasoline to go there than she did. She's thrifty. She spent more on the, hey, let's stop at the hobby shop on the south side of Dayton. She spent more at the hobby shop than she did at the damn grocery store that we took a 2-hour road trip to go to.
No, I didn't. Because I didn't get the mat.
Oh, that's right.
I got some wire, and what did I get besides the wire? Maybe some paint.
I think you got like a bottle of paint.
Bottle of paint and some 1mm wire.
Yeah.
She's thrifty.
So I ended up buying, while I was there, I ended up picking a bottle of neutral gray Vallejo primer, and I picked up the Army Painter neutral gray as well, and then I'm going to reach out to Badger and pick up a bottle of their neutral gray as well. I have it. I have the entire line, but I want all 3 bottles to be fresh. And I'm going.
Oh, you want a Steino Res or?
No, I have. Yeah, I want the medium neutral gray Steino Res.
Oh, okay.
I have the Vallejo and I have the Army Painter, and I want to do a shoot comparison, spray all of them and see how they go. I'll, probably spray them out of like 2 or 3 airbrushes. It's not as if I don't have like 90 freaking BattleTech miniatures to prime. So
you can use your new thing.
I did tell her that you got about a repainter coming out with triads, and about the one that you got that looks so similar to the Reaper Marine Triad.
Yes, so I did. They do have triads now, and I don't like how they have them laid out in their rack. I think they could come up with something a little better. But anyway, because it took me a hot minute to realize it was an actual triad and how their triads were laid out. But I found a cool one. It's like a jade color, and I think I'm going to go with that for a good portion, at least like a fleet or a battalion of mechs.
Sure.
And then, so I've got that plus the primer to play around with. So, I got some stuff to throw around, and then I got to harass Eric a little bit and be like, help me, because these rules are dry as fuck, man. It's like eating a damn ramen brick with no water.
Yeah.
They could definitely use some better interactive rules. I'm reading it, and I'm like, well, I know what to read when I need to go to bed at night.
Well, he did teach our 8-year-old nephew to play, so I imagine if he can teach our 8-year-old nephew.
Now, does he play original, or is he playing the new Alpha Strike?
Plays
or both.
Normally original, but he also plays Alpha Strike. He does both.
Okay, normally
it's the classic BattleTech is what his favorite is, but that doesn't mean he won't play Alpha Strike.
I have the rule book. I actually went out and bought the rule books for both. So, and then I have them on digital for both because I backed that Humble bundle. So I have both. I've been reading Alpha Strike because to me that is the most like the games that I've played in the past. Mm-hmm. It's a skirmish type game, and it's more than just 1 or 2 mechs. So we'll see how it goes. I honestly don't know why I waited this long to get into BattleTech. I should have been playing BattleTech since the 90s, like legitimately. I've been playing war games since the 90s, and I've always loved BattleTech, so I don't know why the hell I never got into it.
I did learn to play at what do you call it, at Gen Con one year, just because I was trying to get into it because he likes it so much. I'm just not great with math. That's not my asset, and there's lots of math involved, and so. But he's very good at it. He's been playing since he was in high school, so okay. And he's never stopped.
What has he been going on about the last few days on Facebook? Did something happen that I missed the starting of?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you not read your husband's Facebook?
Not often. No, not often. I talk to him. Well, he lives with me. Not as far as I know. I mean, he's playing in a new BattleTech group tomorrow. That's what it's about. He's nowhere near me, so I can't ask him.
Oh, I thought he was still.
I'm sorry. No, he was in the room. He walked in, and I made him talk to me, and then now he's gone back out doing something. I don't know what. He's in the basement. But one of these days we'll have to get you out here so you can see our gaming room. You'll be like, what is wrong with you? We have so many minis, it's ridiculous. The 1,200 square foot basement and every single wall is covered in minis. So.
Did he just change positions?
Oh, he just walked in. Yeah, he did.
Don't you think that could be something that he would
I
be
have
talking?
no idea what it is, what post you're talking about, though.
Any of them. He's played. There's been several of them. And it's just like, did something happen?
No, that's just Eric.
Oh, no. There was two of them that made me go, "Huh?" It was the.
Yeah. No, he. I don't know, something about.
It's Friday. It's very different feeling from my old shift.
Oh, he works from home now. So that's probably what. Yeah, it's different. He used to be 4 on 4 off, work 4 days, 4 12-hour days, and then he was off for 4 12-hour days, and now he works Monday through Friday and off on the weekend, and he works from home. So it's very weird because now he's like, "Yay, it's Friday!" He never had that feeling before.
And then it's a spa day for my ear holes. I'm guessing he was listening to some good music.
Probably,
or something.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just been relatively memes and him hating on Poxawani Phil and the weather balloon. Yes. Oh, they did shoot down that weather balloon, by the way.
Did they?
Yes.
I saw
the Chinese one?
Yeah. Just recently. They decided to shoot it down. And China's all fucking pissed. Oh, well.
Yeah, that's freaky. I don't understand why it took them so long to say what's going on here.
Being former military, there's a lot of... being low-level former military, just keep that there, but... There's a lot of decisions that had to be made. Like, in all honesty, is there anything that weather balloon, whether or not it is actually a weather balloon, would have seen that would have actually meant anything that Google Earth doesn't already see? Mm. And is it worth the ramifications of the possible political bullshit they're going to have to deal with, the temper tantrum from China, to shoot it down? I think, honestly, if the public hadn't got their hands on it and made such a big deal about it, they probably would have just let it go on its way.
Let it float around.
Right. But it became such a big deal that I think, honestly, they just had to shoot it down just to be like, sorry about your luck. Yep, here you go. Would you like it? Here it is in a box. Don't tell us that you wouldn't have done the same thing. You know,
it's freaky.
Honestly, I think it's just one of those deals where it just became such a nuisance that they had to.
Wow.
Especially since I don't like getting into politics, but we'll just say certain people were saying in Montana, just go shoot it down.
Is that where it was, over Montana?
Oh, when it was over Montana, they were saying... I'm not going to say who. I'll let you guys look it up.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I mean,
I can't remember the name.
Was it low enough down that like your normal person could see it?
No, it was still way out of range. But he was telling people in Montana to shoot it down, and there were all these posts all over the place saying, "No, do not shoot at it. What goes up must come down.
Yeah,
you are not going to hit it." And this is not something you say in Montana because everyone out there is just aching to go shoot something. So, much less that Chinese weather balloon. So
that's something. Well, this was a good podcast.
So, Larry, what does the dragon say?
Roar.